the Greyhawk folks for extra name.
All right. Sound good out there? Can you hear me? I put it on 10. I'm talking to myself. It's 8. There you go. Good to hear. Good to hear. Awesome. Hey, Jeremy. Hey, Troy.
How was Gary Con this year?
It was great. Great time.
This is the mainstay of WoW.
It's awesome. It's good.
Dungeons and Dragons. This is where it started.
So,
this
Michael.
is where it was founded. This is where, you know, the game itself gets its roots. And there are people here that were influencers for that 40, 50 years ago. Got that really intimate feel to it.
I only played about half of this, so. Hey, Brevin.
Mike, this is the Weather Dragon. Behind me is the Harbinger game table. It's bar stool height. If you're sitting at the table for hours, you can kick the stool back and stand up for a little bit. With all our tables, we give you plenty of room, about 13 inches of usable space, unlike the other guys. Extra storage underneath. We have a full-size monster manual, fits comfortably. You need to get your dice tray out of the way. You still have room. Choose your hardwood. Any hardwood that's available we can get. Weathered posts.
So you managed to get my second favorite cartographer and favorite fighter pilot on your show.
Oh, Anna Meyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's badass.
And I've been doing this is God, I think she came on like in the first 20, the 25th Gabbin. This is our number 348. So yeah, to be that and Legends of War we've done together like 600 talk shows. So yep, yeah, it's awesome.
She's definitely she's a fixture of the game.
So I'm assuming Lissa Faden's number 1.
Yeah.
See? Awesome. Thanks, Zach.
There's two of them. So this is
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, you've seen, you've got a copy of Necropolis, right? Yeah, I mean, you've seen.
Oh yeah.
There's chicken bones on the plate, man.
Yeah, all the details. I don't think I brought that in hard copy. I brought like if I brought all the books up, going all the way back.
No, I'm talking about actually chicken bones is Teagle.
You're talking about Teagle Manor.
Yeah, I have Teagle Manor here. I have it here. I got it. I don't know if I have the map inside it, but I got the book.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit.
Oh, I do. It's inside here. Oh yeah.
And I actually we printed that thing out in 20 feet by 16 feet or something, Zach?
Oh my gosh.
I think 144 square feet.
Yeah, 144 square.
12 by 12.
Yeah, it's huge. It's for 28 millimeter scale. We actually scaled it to 28 millimeter, and for a while there, and I think they still do this at Game Hole and a couple other places. Like they run a charity event where the DM walks around the map, moving characters around.
Everyone does it at TotalCon every year.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, it's really something.
Nice. I'll take this off in a second here. Says it comes off my game with Ed Greenwood on and goes over to the cause. We'll get rolling here. And Anna should be on any second now. So yeah.
Hey, so Zach, I sent the Necromancer class out today. I got a wild hair at my butt at about 0800 and started writing it and finished it today.
Necromancer class. Nice.
I think we launch next week, or the week after at latest.
Well, depends on your schedule with what you've got going on, because
There's no idea what my schedule is like. So what
Yeah.
I
Keith,
do is-
long shot.
I
Chris.
get awful damn
Josh,
scared
enjoy.
on about 12 for a week and a half because I've got 20 relatives here for the funeral and
we have to do it before then, basically, because mine no idea. We're not live or anything, right?
You can talk our shtick is we talk over ads. So
we're not live though, right?
Oh yeah, they can hear. People can hear you talking. I'm sorry.
We'll talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, sorry about that.
The easy versions, we both got a lot of family stuff going on right now.
Yeah.
And I've got a funeral and he hopefully doesn't, but and I've got all the East Coast relatives here, that kind of thing, coming in that weekend.
Sorry to hear that, man.
It was not unexpected. I mean, if I live to be 85, you win.
You and I don't have a good chance at that, Bill.
Yeah, I don't think I have a great chance of that. But the old man did okay. Yeah, so it's like it's sad, but it is what it is, right? But we're hosting everything because my in-laws live with us. So my in-law now, but in-laws, that's nice.
How's your friend doing? The one who's up, she's real high spirits.
Oh, in New Zealand, we don't know. We don't really know. I mean, it's not good.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that was really sad because she's only in her mid-40s, so that was a little tough to take.
Anna's got an internet problem. She will be on, but she's running a little late. I can handle it.
Tell her we're gonna make her draw maps.
Yes, punishment.
Oh, for free too. That's the
She's
fun
got some
part.
really beautiful stuff being worked on now as we speak for a lot of projects.
Yeah,
so it's really cool.
It's great.
You can't even get her to work for you. She's so damn busy.
All right.
It's awesome.
We're 4 minutes early. With that, we know Anna's going to be a little late. So I will bring us live here.
Okay.
A second. All right. Oh, let me do this. Set one thing up. A couple giveaways tonight.
We could probably
brain,
up that.
my brain shut off there.
Michael took care of it. He does a good job with this.
Michael's got it, man. Michael lives, literally lives like 5 miles from me. By the way, if you guys didn't know that. So
that should be the aura of more lawful good around you.
I don't know if that's the case. I think myself and my friends corrupt him, so he's losing that. He's losing that.
Where he works.
He's losing that aura there. So, good evening. Welcome. Anna's running late, everyone, so Anna will be on. I'm J.K. Lorgazamba, and what a great show tonight. We're going to have some fun with this first. Zach's been on before. Zach's been on the Fantasy Mapping Show before when we had Alyssa and Anna doing that. But I'm really excited about this. This came together from at GaryCon. So let's welcome Bill Webb and Zach Glazar. Welcome. Thank you so very much for coming on. First time for Bill. I want to say this, Bill. Everyone said, I won't tell you who said this. You were one of the most outwardly engaging of all the Tower of Gygax DMs to the players.
I had a blast at Tower Gygax, and they when Luke and I talked about it, which was before Ernie passed. And so he had I didn't talk much to him about it afterwards. They sent me like 400 pages of stuff, which is stuff, and I had no idea what I was supposed to do, right?
Right.
And so I texted Luke, after I gave him a while after Ernie passed away, because I didn't want to like mess with Luke's universe because he was going through a lot. And I'm like, dude, I have no idea what you want me to do with any of this. I'm just going to write something. And he goes, perfect. The text back said, perfect. We put you last for a reason. Kill them all. Right? And I was like, all right. And of course, it's an AD&D adventure. I actually had the fastest kill, which was 45 seconds after 7:00. So I didn't even make it to 7:01.
You turned someone to stone?
Yeah, I turned somebody to stone. Yeah, exactly. And because we basically, it's supposed to be fast and furious because like people waiting in
Yeah,
the
you only
line.
got 2 hours too. You're blowing through it real quick.
And so I made lots of stone to flesh creatures because I was supposed to kill everybody, right? Was the sort of the objective. Anyway, so we ended up with enough players that they were cycling in so fast that I decided to give prizes for first person killed, which was this gal. Her name was Joan something or other. The gal killed 45 seconds of the adventure. We rolled initiative. I won. I attacked. I hit her. She rolled a 1 on her saving throw, and I was like, next. And they were just like, what, already? And I was like, yeah, man,
that's awesome.
And anyway, I ended up with I think 14 kills in 2 hours. And
that's way more than me. I only had like 6.
Well, the thing is, though, I actually only turned like 6 or 7 people to stone between the Gorgon, and I used a Gorgon as the main boss and cockatrices up front.
Nice.
Some dude used that wand of wonder and hit lightning bolt in a 20-foot by 20-foot room.
Killed some people.
And killed 4 people.
I love that.
So it was just like because they had a prayer spell going, and in AD&D it does +1 per die of damage, right? And I'm like, well, okay, everybody in this 10-foot section of the room is going to get hit 4 times, and so 7th level guy, so he did 7d6 +1 per die, and I'm basically like, look, I go before I even roll, does anybody here have more than 42 hit points in the area? And the answer was no. And I'm like, you just don't need to roll, because if I roll all ones, you're still dead. Because they were getting hit 4 times for 76 plus
the bounce back
28 times 4, right?
Yeah, you're cruel. That's
funny. The guy threw a lightning bolt in a tiny little room.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
that is great. Anyway, so
I had the most kills and the first kill.
Here comes GM Jim,
which is GM Jim is a close friend, and he's on my Patreon as a
cool
back.
Awesome. Love him. Welcome,
and
Jim.
He has a lovely wife named Melody, and they weren't at GaryCon this year, which made us all sad.
Enjoy the conversation and welcome. Let's introduce everyone. How's that sound? I know we started babbling about GaryCon already because we all had such great times, but let's start. Zach, lead us off, man. We'll go clockwise.
My name is Zach Glazar. I am the COO of Frog God Games and one of the equity partners. I am basically the hand of Bill Webb.
That's in a very Dune sense.
More of the Dune sense. I'm more like your like the guy who runs the Golden Path. Right.
Okay. Excellent. That's great to hear. It's nice to see like I said, it was nice to see you and your wife at GaryCon too, and it was such a great experience. And so this is going to be a really fun conversation tonight. I guarantee it. So, Mr. GM Jim, go ahead. Welcome. Introduce yourself.
He's just here because he's played a lot in my.
That's all right. Just introduce yourself to everyone. That's cool. I'm easygoing.
Yeah, I'm Jim. I was lucky enough to have Bill and Zach vouch for me. I then published one of my modules. Lighthouse of Aim and Barrett, and really happy to be here.
Well, if you act up, I'll just use one of these on you.
And I guess my name is Bill Webb. I've been running Necromancer Games now for 25 years as of last month, and I'm the CEO, and then I'm the CEO of Frog God Games as well. And we actually are going to have our big 15th anniversary here in about day after tomorrow. So nobody believed me when I sent out an email to my mailing list about, hey, we're going to do this new book, because it was April Fool's Day, and I didn't even realize that when we did it. And that's how Frog got started. And we this is back in the day, so it's like nothing like our friends Kelsey or Steve Chenault are doing now, but we got $45,000 of pre-orders in the first day. And I looked at my wife and I said, well, I guess we're starting our company again. And that's how Frog God got started, was Slumber Czar, right? Back in the day. And it was it was 15 years ago, day after tomorrow. So we published about 600 and I don't even know, 610 or something now, Zach.
We have a total of over 800 SKUs.
800 SKUs. Okay, God, he keeps getting bigger.
Well, I know there's just some people on here like Assure the Bear and myself that are like that era. I'm gonna be a fanboy a little bit. That era, and welcome and thank you for coming on. We're going to talk about what's going on, what you have, some big announcements. I got links going in already. We got two $25 gift certificates to oh my God, I must have troll to Frog God Games.
Yeah, well, that's it. We're out.
Yeah, oh my gosh,
not get away with it.
Good old Steve is like my best friend in the industry, so you could do that too.
Hey, to have both your companies sponsor me.
I would happily give out gift certificates for Steve Chenault's site. That's hilarious.
$500 gift certificates is just too troll.
There's Chuck. Chuck's on in chat too. Chuck Gumbo right now.
Oh, so don't tell him I said that.
Everyone, you're both very generous companies, and I really appreciate it. But let's go back to when back in the day. I forget what. I think it was not the Days of Nights in Delaware. I was at the Complete Strategist in King of Prussia, PA. Okay, one of those stores, and it's like 3rd edition comes out, and I hate 3rd edition, right? I'm like prestige class. I don't know. I'm staying for 1E, 2E all the way, and I get this, right?
There you go. Yeah. My first hardcover, my first paper published book.
Yeah, The Crucible of Freya, and then I'm like, what is all this downloadable add-on content you have? Look, it seems still on the inside of this.
It's almost as big as the module.
Oh my gosh. And it was like for almost every adventure you guys did back in the day.
Yeah.
All sorts of wonderful add-ons. Look at all this. I mean, it's just a ton of content that really added on and made a world out of it. And of course, for me, I incorporated a lot of it into my Greyhawk. I mean, I actually have a specialty priest of Freya now as one of my core Greyhawk deities. A lot of those deities from Finn, Norse, all were in Forgotten Realms anyway. So,
these guys are guys off my Patreon.
That's all cool. They can all hang out and all. I got no problem with it. Let's just have fun and talk it up. So yeah, this was 2000. Is it 2000 or 2001? 2000. This came out, and then right after that, I'll just bring this one up. I'll pop this one up here because it's already on my screen. Was this, and this one is like the gem. Here comes Anna. And that whoops! Oh, look at that! I got to double up. Oh my God, this stupid thing. Give me 1 sec. It's got a. Hi Anna. I got to switch. I got to do desktop 2 here. Boom. I'm gonna move you up top here.
Now we got my second favorite cartographer.
Yes.
I'm sorry I'm late. Yep.
It's okay. There you go. Abastor. Man, what a great adventure.
Yeah.
What a great adventure that was. I know someone still has the Star of Terror from it, that Morning Star, in the campaign. My buddy Bill Master Crafter's priestess of Palor has it, I believe. Yeah, so it just was a great series of adventures. Then Chaos, the one with Juibelix, what was that, Chaos Rising? Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah. Some great stuff back in. So, like, you guys nailed it back in the day. Figuring out how to bridge that 3rd edition to first. So, Bill, what was?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is so. I mean, obviously, guys as old as me and probably almost as old as you. We had the worlds we played in were Greyhawk and the Wilderlands. And then we pirated as much stuff from Greyhawk and the Wilderlands as we could and made it into our own worlds. And that's where the Lost Lands really came from. Cool. Greyhawk, Wilderlands, the world of Thomas Covenant, and the White Gold Wielder and that kind of thing. Tolkien. If you saw my original map, and I could email you a photo of it at some point.
Yeah, please.
You'll notice there's so many intellectual property violations on it that we had to redo it when we redid the world setting, right? but it still hangs above my dining room table. My wife, I married correctly, framed it and put it above our dining room table, which is kind of cool. But we did it in watercolors in 1979. Me and
Wow.
another guy. Yeah. And we're not Anna's quality of cartographers on that, but we did pretty good on.
It was back then. My quality was terrible far later than that, so don't worry about that part.
We did pretty
I wasn't
good.
born yet.
We did pretty good.
Who said they weren't born yet?
No, me. I was just kidding.
Oh my gosh! I was like, whoa! It's like, wow.
But we stole as much as we could from those settings, and then tried to follow what book 3 said to do, which was make mega dungeons, right? And then do lots of wilderness stuff. And so if you notice, most of the things I published that I wrote, at least,
I tried to get most of them out.
I'm not going to call them formulaic because they're almost anti-formulaic, but they really follow the the wilderness leading to a dungeon, and my dungeons usually get really big because that was sort of how I was trained back then. And so little stuff, little tiny dungeons like Rapanathek or the Tomb of Avastor or the Sword of Air dungeon, or even heck, even the stuff I'm writing now, really lends itself to to what the original rules and the kind of the original look and feel of people running a Greyhawk setting or running a Wilderland setting were doing back then.
And that's the thing. Like they were the two when we started. Like my buddy Tim, everyone knows Ever Serious Tim. He still runs the City State of the Invincible Overlord campaign. Yeah. I'm lucky I get to play in every couple months, right? And it's old school 1E, and it's Greyhawk, and that's City, and that's Wilderlands, right? Part of it.
Yep. Well, it's really the same thing. I mean, it's all a different take on the same theme,
right? Yeah, and it's just like I don't know if I can't teach an old dog new tricks, but we're not leaving, because we're entrenched there. But that doesn't mean that there's not room to add things. Yeah. So, as an example, just throwing this out to everyone there. Let me see if I can bring this one up too. But here's Dirt. This is a gem of yours, right?
Yeah, it's a solid book.
A solid book is an understatement. I loved running this, and we ran it over a course of a year and a half.
Might be the best treatment of a succubus I've ever seen.
Yeah, definitely. And that's this picture on the cover is like at the very end of the book. You don't see this for like if you're going to play this thing and all the side tricks for about a year. It's got depth to it. The Higdine plant, Bill, I'm not going to be a smart ass here, but I guess I am. I'm going to say that's not a derivative of something you were taking at one point, was it? Because
no.
That was like, oh my gosh, that was the test. Also, the test for that cult where they put you in the box for 3 days. Yeah. One of my player characters went through that. Oh my gosh, just some really weird, crazy stuff that made that so much fun. Well, I placed Durbanford in Grand March in my game, okay. So I actually and Anna put it on the map for me. Now it's not on the full ground; it's on my version of the Greyhawk map because I liked it so much. So yeah, it was a really wonderful.
Part of the thing, like with that adventure in particular, and again with like things like Sword of Air and a lot of the stuff that I've written. And I had a lot of help with that one because other folks were heavily involved with Durbanford, but you'll notice they're not murder hobo games.
No, they're not. No,
and so anybody who's played with me knows that you don't really want to fight things. You want to, you have to every now and then, right? But I guess a theme that I'm going to build over the course of the evening is I've always been a thinking person's writer, and so the adventures that people run with me. There'll be a few combats. There'll be some, and there always has to be. I mean, we're rolling dice. We're rolling dice because we like rolling dice, right? But you need to think your way through stuff that we do, and I think that's. I'll just say this, and people can agree or not, or can disagree. But I really think the stuff I work through is really. I'm one of the few white box writers. If you will, white box. I mean, I wrote for 3.0, and I actually didn't write anything for 5th or 4th or Pathfinder. Other people took my stuff and converted it into that. But I wrote stuff for everything I've written with the idea that combat's minimized, and if you want to kill the ancient blue dragon in the cave, you're better off dropping a boulder on his head from 200 feet up than you are actually getting into a brawl with him, and figuring out a way to do that, or talking to him and figuring out a way to, bribe him to let you get past. And I can tell a million stories about that. I have some hilarious stories about my children at conventions with that, which we can talk about at some point. But I'm a firm believer in mind exercise as part of role playing games, and I'm a big ROLE guy more than I am an ROLL guy, which you'd never know because I had the highest amount of kills at the Tower Gygax thing.
Yeah, you did even more than Anna.
I was going to say you ruined your reputation there.
Yeah, beat Anna.
Tower Gygax.
They helped though, Anna, because the guy with the wand of wonder killed 4 people with the lightning.
There you go. That's even better. They die by their own actions. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Everyone was enjoying it, and that's the main thing. I mean, the Tower of Gygax is set so that it's
but
just
Tower
a
of Gygax is a special experience, very different from your home game or long-term campaign or anything like that.
100%.
Yeah.
So, all right, let me fanboy a little bit more. We got 2 hours, right? So.
Sure, man.
Yeah, man. All right, here we go. So, whatever you had, this book, it's down below me now. And it's here. Let me bring this up top here. But what?
Oh yeah,
this book is so fantastic.
Okay, so I got news on that one.
Oh yeah,
I do. There's news on that one. It has not been announced yet, but the book is. I believe, is it laid out yet, Zach?
It's the first probably 30 pages for the test layout are finished, and it's really awesome because what he did, what we think it's going to be, is every artifact has its own page background that matches the artifact style. So if it's like a skull artifact, there's a really interesting skull low-key pattern in the background. Everything is in boxes, so you can easily identify where an artifact starts and stops. Because some of the artifacts have long descriptions.
Let me preface this with, this is a really obscure book that got canceled for the most part because 4th edition had been announced before we announced it, but it was already at the printer. And so I changed it to the minimum number. There's only 500 of those that you have right there.
Yeah, I don't think I've got it.
I got
one. Rare AF, right?
Right.
The point is, I went back through pieces out of it that I really liked. Deleted some of the stuff that I thought was kind of hoo-hoo back in 3.5 or whatever. That book is coming out as a 5th edition book with a Kickstarter probably in May or something.
Well, that's fantastic.
After myself and Edwin Nagy rewrote most of the pieces of it that we really liked. I think
there were a lot of really good people who worked on
some
it.
stuff.
Keith Baker, Anthony Pryor. I mean, my gosh.
Yeah. Anthony still writes for us all the time.
Anthony's awesome. I had him on a couple months ago. He's great. Yeah. Really great.
But that book is
great hair.
That's a 5th edition book, or a piece of that book, or a piece plus new pieces of that book is going to come out as a 5e book, and we're actually going to be kickstarting that in early summer or late spring or whatever you want to call May.
Well, it's probably I'm going to give you a recommendation for another one that I would Kickstarter if you haven't already. But this book is fantastic. I mean, I've used a couple of these in my campaign. Just like anything with artifacts, you got to be careful, right? But I've used a couple of these for quest purposes. To get away from, I'm just going to use the one in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Let's do something a little different.
Some artifacts is really well done.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, it's really well done. And the thing is, like I said, it basically was a dead book because we had ordered 5,000 units. This is back in the day when you used to sell 5,000 units of stuff, right?
Right.
But we'd ordered 5,000 units, and then 4th edition got announced, and we were like, "Fuck." Sorry.
No, you can swear. It's okay.
God damn it. And we called the printer and what's the minimum we can order? Because they'd already done all the pre-press stuff and everything else. They're like 500, but your price is we don't care because the book's DOA.
Yeah.
Because 4th edition had been announced. And so we printed 500 of them. I think I have 3, by the way.
Well, I will keep mine attached to my body.
That is for a necromancer book back in the days of high press, the days of high adventure type thing, the days of high press numbers. That is a really rare book. That and
Crystal Skull
are probably the 2 rare.
Oh, I have Crystal Skull too.
There's only about 300 Crystal Skulls.
Oh, that's downstairs. Well, cool. Wow.
So hold on to that one. Fane of the Witch King's fairly rare too. I think it's about 500 or 600. Crystal Skull. The story with that was they misprinted it, and so they were gonna we'll reprint it for you. We're like, no, don't. like just give us our money back, right? And so we had like 8 cases of it or something that weren't like they sort of printed it like I don't know, they were off angle, so like the cover was screwed up, so we had to mail them back the covers, but then we didn't have to pay for the print run. And so that was another book that was 4th edition had been announced. It was dead on arrival. And Dave Broman was the author, and he was a really good writer, man. And I was sad to do it, but it was one of those things. Fourth had been announced. It was a 3.5 book, and we knew we were just dead ducks, and so we canceled it. And again, the copies that went out, the distributor orders fell from like 2,500 or 3,000 for Crystal Skull down to 10. And it was like everybody canceled except for a couple of people because 4th edition had been announced. So those 2 books are sort of there's a couple others that are pretty Fane of the Witch King is another one. There's a couple others that are in there that are sort of in the obscure late press 3.5 stuff. But those 2 in particular are extremely rare. And so I'm glad to hear you got them both, because I actually I don't have any to give. I mean, I got like I have like copies, man.
Well, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
So Curtis is on, who ran Tower Guy. Actually says thank you very much for everything you did for it. Just wanted to throw that out
is he
there.
in my game?
What's that?
He was in my game.
Curtis was the organizer for Guy.
Okay, yeah. Curtis. Yeah,
Curtis, Brett. Yeah,
Curtis and Brett. Yeah, absolutely. So the other one I'd say running 5th, get into 5th, is this. I love this book, Glades of Death.
Glades of Death. That was Pat Loringer.
Okay.
Who was the guy that also redid? He wrote most of this. I think I wrote one of those adventures, like Howl the Wolf or something. If I remember correctly, it's been about 20 years, so bear with me. But Pat led that one.
Okay.
He's the guy who did the 3.5 version or 3.0 version of City State of the Invincible Overlord for us as well. And he's done.
It's downstairs too. I have that too.
Zach, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's done 2 or 3 books for us as Necromancer.
He's done like 3. Two shorter ones, and he contributed to a longer one. I don't remember which one that was.
Yeah, I know he had about 6 kids, so he hasn't writing as much.
He got busy.
6 kids? Wow.
5 or 6, yeah. And
that's a nice size number of kids.
Yeah, you could have a basketball team for sure.
You could roll the D6 for chores.
Yep.
This reminds me of in a different way, Dark Druids by Rob Kuntz, right? Kind of that visceral evil side of nature. And like the ivy bound monsters in it are good.
The art there, I think, is Brian LeBlanc, and he's actually doing work for us too.
That's really. That
looks like a LeBlanc. That's got to be a LeBlanc.
Yeah, it's LeBlanc. Yeah, it says it. Yeah, absolutely. But great artwork, great new monsters, a lot of evil treants in here. I use them all the time. There's a lightning treant in here, and I used that just recently. But just some great. The artwork is like down and dirty, which I like. That feel.
LeBlanc Brian does great work. I mean, he's just really good.
Excellent. Yeah, but this is the one I recommend. I think 5e would eat this up too, just because not everyone loving everyone, and let's get some.
We did it for Pathfinder, I think, or some piece. Pathfinder. I can't remember.
You renamed it. We used parts of it for Fields of Blood.
Fields of Blood. That makes sense. We published so many books, dude. It's hard to remember what.
It's good, man. I mean, a lot of content, ton. I mean, I've bought a lot of PDFs too when I couldn't get them, but I think I even got Eamonvale Incursion and the other one that was like lost for all.
That's
those
another
years.
one. Eamonvale and Demon Heart.
Yeah, I have both of them in hard copy. Yeah, here we go. Here's Eamonvale.
Those are extremely rare.
Yeah,
as well.
It took me a while to get them. I think I had to get one off Noble Knight and one off eBay.
I think the last Eamonvale I saw on eBay sold for about $250 for a soft. That was whack.
Yeah, it was tough to get both of them, but they're.
Have you got a Wilderlands Player's Guide with map?
I have the box set.
Okay, there's the Player's Guide with the map. Is another one. It's unobtainium.
Okay. Yeah, I remember I got the box set, and I also got the City State in hard book downstairs. Like I said, I couldn't bring my entire library upstairs. It's like 3 shelves of my stuff. So, Dale, your group said you had 6 of those. Yeah, these are. And look, it says first printing. Because
Yeah.
they got lost in transit or something for years. Was the story?
Well, so I'll tell you. So here's the basic story. So
Anthony Pryor.
unlike many other publishers, when 4.0 happened, and I'm not going to say who they are, but I paid everybody. So guys who turned in manuscripts, artists who'd done the artwork, cartographers who'd done the cartography, whatever it was. I basically took my last 4 royalty checks or whatever that I got from the 3.0 era, and I just paid everybody that I owed money because they'd written a book or they'd done art or they'd done whatever stuff we were never going to publish at the time. We didn't think. And so I had all these manuscripts that I'd bought and all this artwork that I'd bought and all these maps that I'd bought. And that's a Rick Sardena cover, and I miss him terribly from not working for us. He probably would if I called him. But I'm not sure we could afford him either, though. That's the other trick. Though with Hasbro's issues, maybe I could now. But anyway, so I had all this stuff. And that's when we decided to do, part of the thing was Greg Vaughn had written this magnum opus, Slumbering Czar, which at the time was about 700,000 words or something. And I had agreed to do it, but then it was like, they announced 4th edition. It was like, okay, we're screwed, dude. But I paid everybody. And so I called Greg in 2010 on about March 25th. And I said, hey, man, I go, I understand you write books for Paizo. And he goes, well, yeah. And I said, do you know anything about this Pathfinder stuff? And I go, I've known Lisa for years. Let's call her and ask her, can we use her rules? So I called Lisa and she said, sure. Yeah, we'd love it if you did that. And by the way, I can't stop you anyway, because it's all open source. And I was like, okay. And so I called him and I said, hey, dude, can you convert this thing over to Pathfinder? And of course, he looked at me with cross eyes like, Bill, it's over 500,000 words, right? I'm like, well, let's just do it. And so I called, he goes, well, who's going to lay it out? Who's going to do the art? And I'm like, well, I don't know yet. But so I called my cover artist. I called a couple of other artists that I knew. I didn't call because he doesn't speak English, but I emailed my cartographer over in Austria who reads and writes English fluently, better than I do. And I said, hey, here's the deal. We're going to make somewhere between 0 and X on this. And Chuck Wright was our original layout guy. Same thing. I called him down in Florida and said, hey, man, we're going to make 0 to X. And I go, I'll give you a piece. And we agreed on a certain percentage. And I said, it might be 0. I have no idea, right? I don't know if we're going to make any money or not, And if we make money, I'll pay you. And if not, and all of them told me, because I'd always paid them, that they were in. They're like, we trust you. Let's do it. And we produced I think the second largest D&D book ever made, which is Slumbering Czar. I think somebody did something that was like 40 pages longer. I can't remember even what it was.
Well, I can tell you this about Slumbering Czar is that it took a lot of work on my behalf to get it to fit in the maximum number of pages you could do on a POD. And I got it done, but then we couldn't get it reliably printed in POD that wouldn't fall apart.
Yeah. Well,
so that's how big it is.
Yeah.
And
the largest binding
size. The blight was close. But
I was going to say, I thought the blight was. I have the blight down here in the corner.
Blight wasn't
not bigger than Czar. It was big.
Wow.
And it had lots
Blight
of extra
Blight wasn't
didn't happen. It was not.
Zach, Blight wasn't bigger because we pulled 6 of the adventures out of it.
Oh my gosh.
No, I know. It was 6, and plus you pulled out the handbook stuff and everything else, and player's guides, and so Blight. Although all the Blight material is more in one bound book, Slumbering Czar was very hard to get printed up, and I tried really hard to make it work on POD because we had people in Europe who wanted one, but shipping those to Europe was not cheap.
Yeah. Well, right? It's 980 pages, man. I mean, it's like,
oh
Jesus.
My gosh.
Well, the biggest book you can make.
It's longer than that, Bill.
Yeah, the biggest book you actually can make at most printers is 1,024 pages, and anything over that is a custom hand-bound book, right? So we were within 40 pages or whatever of that, and it was. I remember trying to get a printer, and most of them just laughed at me. And they were, because most of them couldn't do it. They're Walsworth out of Missouri.
They made textbooks.
Yeah, they make textbooks, so they could do 1,024 stitch bound.
Damn.
And they were one of the few U.S. printers that could actually do a 980 page book. And by the way, quick note on the Blight. I've got like 80 copies left. So if anybody wants it, it's on our website. And you should go buy it because once it's gone, I guarantee we're never.
Yeah, you're not going to reprint.
Yeah,
that.
that's never coming out again.
It's
At least
away
not
forever.
not in the way that you're used
The
to.
ones I still have, you can grab by the cover and shake them, and they. So, wonder if I can
Lie.
the room. I don't think I have anything big enough here, but
Right.
yeah, our almost 1,000-page book, and you can shake it by the cover and it won't break it. We after Unearthed Arcana back in 84, 85 or whenever it was, I bought it. And I've never made books that you can break.
Unbelievable. I mean, how many? Like, I think I have 6 Unearthed Arcanas, and I have one that's holding together.
Yeah.
It's on the do not touch shelf. Yeah.
The one I've got that. I got mine bagged and boarded, the one that didn't fall apart. So I'm same way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so anyway, so the whole point of that whole long-winded story by me, because you guys know I can be long-winded.
Hey, we got time. If we run late, it's okay.
The whole point of that was that so we started it up again because anybody in this industry who doesn't take care of the people that do the work for you sucks.
Got it.
And because I took care of the people who worked for us, and paid them when I was losing money paying them, right? It was money out of my own pocket, but I asked them to do a job. They did the job. I paid them, right? They all came back and took a risk with us. And that's why Frog God Games exists, because people were willing. Rowena Atkin and Rick Sardina and Robert Altbauer and Chuck Wright and all those guys were willing to work for free on the promise of maybe we'll make money. Now, to be fair, the royalties that Rick got for the cover and some of his interiors probably were over 50 grand.
Wow.
So, because we sold a lot more of them than I thought we were gonna.
Okay.
And so, we sold a lot of Slumbering Czars. But none of those guys knew it. And that was the highest royalty payments I've ever sent out on any book we've ever done. Because it was like we sold like I said, $45,000 the first day back then, when I wasn't actually taking a piece of it at the time, other than whatever was left over once everybody got paid. I think everybody working on it made more money than I did, which was probably fair anyway, because all I did was make the deal. I just pulled the deal together.
That was a strange time. There's been a lot of strange times lately, right? A lot of them.
Well, contrary to popular knowledge, that Bill is actually not a Pathfinder genius.
Right.
We all think he might be, because he sold almost as many Pathfinder books as Paizo in some ways. But his Pathfinder knack is finding people who know how to use Pathfinder. So I
played a couple of times.
To be fair to Bill, that's what happened.
Want to talk about a glutton for punishment? I have this monstrosity in Swords and Wizardry and Pathfinder.
Which one? Oh yeah, you got
horrors. Oh yeah, yeah. I have it
TW.
Sitting here too.
Yeah, this'll hurt you.
Horrors. Yeah.
yeah. That was so I can't, for reasons that involve an NDA, explain why we got all the rights to the Fiend Folio, Monster Manual 2, and Monster Manual 1 from AD&D. I can't tell you why we got them, but we did. I had a good lawyer, and
cool.
But that's
really.
And then we immediately made them open source.
Right.
And
okay.
Yeah, they're all open source.
Yep.
And so Mark and I made that decision back in 04, 03 or whatever it was. We published the first one. But we were able to obtain the rights to those, and then we released them all as open source.
Okay.
That's why the OGL in that book is so long. If you look at the OGL in the Total Horrors versus almost every other book, it is pages long, because each individual monster that they needed to deal with in that book that way are listed individually, so they can be referenced to that book, so you can publish the same monster in your book without being paid.
Yeah, you're allowed to use it. We've tried to make almost everything we can that is not specifically related to the Lost Lands, which is my home campaign system, right? Or to we've made a lot of stuff open source, because go use our monsters. We want you to.
You can even use Lost Lands with our open source license, as long as you reference us in it, right?
You can.
Okay.
The more you make, the more the merrier, the more happier.
Yeah.
So
I'm not a big snob on. I mean, we protected our rights, right? But I'm not a big snob on don't publish something. You can't do it on DM Guild, because then I might lose rights. But because they were really nasty about that. But knock yourself out. And if somebody wants to write something for the Lost Lands and they need advice on what's going on, they can call me, and I can at least probably chapter and verse them on where to look.
It's I wouldn't know how to keep track of it. I mean, it's just so much, but that's
I just think it's living community, man. It's just no different than Greyhawk used to be. It's a living community, and it's you try to. It's all about the hobby more than it is about the money. And I didn't do this for a living, and neither did Zach.
this is a beloved hobby for me. You know what I mean? I know Anna's the one that's a career one here.
Well, yeah, but it's not much of a career. It's fun, and I get enough money to survive. That's the that's the ambition you can have. You can't have higher ambitions than that in this hobby.
Surpassed 1,000 yet, people?
Nobody close. It's 960 or something.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. 5 years ago it was like 150. You know, I mean, it's just
something like that. So
it's been going really, really well for Anna and a lot of people who work hard in the community. All right, you gave this guy a first shot. This is also on my map, and that yes, this gentleman here who wrote this.
Oh yeah, my first freelancer that we hired,
Mike Merles.
A dude somebody might have heard of. His name is Mike Merles.
Yes.
He was. You'll notice the G. Pull it up at the top. It says G1. And the G series with our studio, with Swords and Sorcery Studio, was guest writers.
Oh, okay.
Book. I wrote. Clark wrote a little bit, but he mostly edited and dealt with the business side of things. But I wrote everything. And then we hired Mike in 2000, I think, or might have been 01, I can't remember, to write a book. And he did. And then we published one more later when he still worked at Wizards. He called me one day and he was like, Bill, do you still have that manuscript I sold you back in 02 or whatever? And I was like, what are you talking about? I had no idea. And Clark found it on an external hard drive that he downloaded his computer onto from some computer that died probably in 04 or something. And so this not so famous dude named Mike Merles. I don't know if it was. I think he'd written a couple of Dragon Magazine or Dungeon Magazine articles or something before that.
I think he may have done a couple. Absolutely. Yeah. But that's awesome to see.
Yeah.
So and it's a really cool adventure. So much so that I like the base. I like the automatons in it, and so just to show you, like, here you go. This is the Shieldlands. Look at that. It's on the map.
Yeah.
So there you go. So that's 2 so far. Of your locations that have found their way onto the map.
Nice.
No, it's
their point. I'm not violating the intellectual property. He is, but anyway,
it's really a wonderful adventure. All right, so you talk about Lost Lands, right?
Yeah, Lost Lands.
I should have brought all those books up.
Okay, so the first thing I want to say about the Lost Lands is there's 2 people that it would 23 years ago, I promised people that I would publish my world setting, right? And I didn't. I'm not going to say I lied, but I was going to say I couldn't have done it. And there are about a dozen people involved in this, and it's like 800,000 words. It's this massive encyclopedic tome, which, by the way, I recommend nobody buy one unless they get the map set with it. And we'll probably put some huge sale up where I think we're just going to start giving away the map set with it because the text is too small on the maps.
We could not print a map big enough to read the text on that would fit inside the book.
And it's a problem all the time.
A quick question.
I bet you understand this more than anybody, I bet, Anna.
Yeah.
A quick question. Lost Lands and Scarred Lands are 2 different ones.
Completely different.
Oh, yeah.
Got it. Okay,
one
good.
was Anthony Pryor's game, and one of them was mine.
Okay.
Anthony Pryor's is Scarred Lands, and mine is
Hallowfaust is Scarred Lands.
Pardon me?
Hallowfaust. Is that Scarred Lands?
That's Scarred Lands.
Okay,
yeah.
all right, thank you.
Everything Necromancer and Frog God's ever done is Lost Lands.
Okay, got it.
So the 600, except for Relics and Rituals and Relics and Rituals 2, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, come on.
They're both Scarred Lands. So anyway, so the Lost Lands is about 800,000 words. It's probably the biggest world setting ever made. I can't imagine. I'd put it up against any. I've got Arduin.
Single book,
I got Arduin beat by like 300,000 words. Anyway, but the 2 people I really needed to give big hugs and kisses to are Mark Greenberg, who was the lead developer on that. Well, really, there's 3. Greg Vaughn, who put together a lot of the notes, and then Mark Greenberg pulled it all together. But really, there's a gal named an unsung hero named Vicky Potter, who's a freelance writer that's worked for us for 20 some odd years, off and on. She doesn't do the rules or anything like that. but she might be the most meticulous and creative human being I've ever met. I'll give a quick shout out to her. She owns a company called Tabletop Adventures.
Okay.
Some of you may have heard of. They do basically flavor text stuff, which is what Vicky writes better than anybody. But it got to be a joke when we were editing this thing, because I went to Bill Meinhardt's house with Mark and Zach, and I think it was just the four of us, right? We're going through all the final edits on this 800,000 word thing, which there were some hilarious times, and I'll let Zach tell you about the Monkey Island in a second. But anyway, so it got to be a joke because there'd be contradictions, right, between the 500 books we published or whatever and the world setting, because we were trying to make sure everything meshed. And
every writer wants to add a god. Okay, every writer has their own temple and their own god. So the list of gods was long.
Yeah, but after checking like 20 things, because Vicky had already given us notes and copy edit on this thing, and it became, oh, well, just Vicky's right. Oh, look, hey, Vicky's right again. 3 people said it should be this, but Vicky said it should be this. We checked the original source. Vicky's right. And honestly, without her, there's no way we would have pulled that thing off. I mean, she's phenomenal, man. She worked a lot on Acropolis as well. She also worked a bunch on kind of the flavor texty stuff in Rappahannock. Trying to think, she did the Mother of All Treasure tables, or I guess it's Tome of Treasures now is the book that she did. She actually wrote most of that herself. And she's not a rules guru, but in terms of making sure everything jives and everything matches and all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, I've never met a human being better than her. And I wish I could get her to do more, but she just won't. She's got, again, somebody who's got like, I can't remember how many kids she's got. It's like 6 or something, but she's like, just doesn't. And so, I call her every now and then and ask her to do some work, and she'll tell me yes or no. And when she says yes, I'm really happy. But without her, Greg, and honestly, Anthony Pryor, honorable mention there. He did a lot of work on it too. And Ken Spencer.
I will say this. I will tell you about the error Bill just mentioned, is that we were reading through it, and there's a little island in the Northlands that's probably 1 mile by 1 mile. But on that island, according to the text, there were 20,000 like ape men.
Carnivorous apes, yeah.
Oh, I love carnivorous apes.
We had Ken Spencer wrote the module called The Island of the Angry Apes. Yeah. And it was based on the fact that we couldn't get over the fact that there are 20,000 apes in this little island. So he actually made it so I think you went down into an underground complex.
I almost peed myself reading it because the guy had said 20 and then had a space and then a K. we called the guy who'd written that section, this guy named Ken Spencer. We called him at like 1 o'clock in the morning and said, dude, you're on the fucking hook now, dude. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, you're writing an adventure about 20,000 carnivorous apes on a 1 mile square island. And he's like, what? I said, you're the one who made the typo. It was so hilarious. You have to have it on.
We were punch drunk though, because it was probably 20 hours into a 3-day event.
We were punch drunk.
I had a map printed on a shower curtain size thing we had on a table, and I had a Photoshop file open on the computer, and we would make map adjustments and changes so we can give them to Robert. But that's where we find those things. And I know Anna's the one here who can really understand this. After a certain number of hours that in the double digits, your ability to really discern small differences on a map and make good decisions gets a little bit iffy, but they get hilarious. It really becomes kind of funny. The kind of mistakes you make can be awesome. And that's how we got the Island of the Angry Apes. So as he said.
And he did, to be fair, he wrote the module, and it's kind of
we did. And
it's a little tongue-in-cheek.
We just had a reprint Kickstarter. It was in.
That's cool.
Hey guys, I got to take about a 1-minute break here.
No problem. We'll talk with Zach here on some stuff.
I got plenty of things I can say about him while he's gone.
Yeah. So that is welcome, and because we always we all razz each other. Trust me, I haven't seen many of my emotes busting my stones yet today, but we'll see them. We've seen the turtle emotes a couple times. So Zach, as far as what's going on now, as far some wonderful books, I didn't see Bill's name throughout this that much, but this is one of my favorites here. So
Monstrosity.
Yeah,
that's a much older book.
Is it?
That's a reprint. We did a reprint with extra monsters in it that you have right there.
Okay.
And it's available only on POD because, frankly, the print costs on that book,
it's pretty
versus
thick.
The price it was charged on the original Kickstarter it was available on, was unsustainable.
Okay,
so
got it.
We had to redo it in a way that we could reprint it, and just to get enough copies made to make it cheap traditionally, just wasn't going to happen. So it went to POD only and the new PDF. And we also, a lot of those monsters find their way, along with some of the Tome Horror ones, into the Tome Essential Horrors, which we have the second one. I just got the proofs for, which they're wonderful looking proofs. I'll grab and show it to you in a little bit. But
yeah, I gave away a couple of them. I still have this one I haven't given away yet. This is the 5e Tome Horrors. So this is before that Essential Horrors, right? Wait a minute.
No, Essential Horrors is for the OSC system.
Oh, here it is. I do have that. Michael got me one of these.
Yeah, we have a new one now that has we did it with a cloth based cover, so it has like a storybook kind of cloth cover with gold stamped lettering.
Okay,
and really nice. It's a beautiful book. That's volume 2. Then that will be out soon. It is I think either done printing or being bound right now overseas, and then it's being put on a big giant boat, and then it'll take its time because Lord knows. But when it gets here, we'll send it out to the backers, and real proud of it. Michael Gross did most of the work on getting that to put together. He did a really wonderful job, and that's selling really well on our drive-through site, the PDF, because it's a great book. And if you like old school games, if you're watching this, you do. It's a wonderful book for that, even though it's directly for OSC. OSC, in my opinion, is BX with a wonderful layout option.
Okay.
And so I really like it. So.
And the good DM can convert stuff real easily too. You know,
I always find it.
You look at it, you're like, okay.
Most good DMs can convert the fly. Yeah.
That's 7 armor class instead of whatever 13 or 14 or pretty easy.
A fun game that's fast playing. If you notice and complain about armor class, that's not the kind of DM I am, so I don't understand that.
Right.
But I get it. That's why we actually produce stuff, in different systems. But on things like between BX and like our OSC books will go to Bill's new project really easily, even though there's differences in dice and everything else. A good GM on the fly will totally grab it.
We can talk about that. We can talk about that.
I have a question I want to get from the audience here, and at first, and that is, if you want to start in Lost Lands, and you're new to it, where do you start? Like book wise, or
I think there's 2 clear answers to that.
Okay.
So there are 2. One of which we have about 50 units left of. The PDFs are always available, which is The Lost City of Baracus. And that's a joint book I wrote with a guy named Bill Knauer, William.
I have that downstairs too.
That's one of the real good intros. And then of course the other one's the Stoneheart Valley. It basically is the Wizard's Amulet, Crucible Freya, Tomb of Abasthor series, which is one of them's in the Sinar Coast, which is the Tomb of Abasthor one, which also puts you near the big city that we detailed, which is called Bard's Gate.
I have that book too downstairs. Another good book.
And then the other one's
yeah,
and then the other one's a little further south, which is on. Trying to remember the name of the. It's really. They're within about 500 miles of each other.
So Crucible of Freya, Abasthor, Baracus, Bard's Gate are all in the same world setting.
All those are.
All those. Okay.
Everything is.
Okay.
Everything we do is.
All right, cool.
And I mean, for that matter, Glades of Death and all the adventures in that are set in the Lost Lands. That was one of my requirements with people writing for us, was they put stuff in the Lost Lands.
Okay.
All of it, everything we've done is, with a couple exceptions. There's Teagle Manor's not, Whisper and Venom's not, because they were written separately.
They were written a long time ago by Judges Guild. Yeah.
But really,
they both could go in there without any real effort.
I would say,
absolutely,
because there's no official place.
Yeah, the Sinar Coast is the main adventure area where my high school and college groups played. So as you can imagine, it might be the most developed, right?
Right.
Because when you're playing 5 days a week back then, you develop a lot of that, and so those areas were highly developed. And that includes both of the books I just mentioned, which is Lost City of Baracus and Stoneheart Valley. Stoneheart Valley, I still have 400 or 500 copies of just the Swords and Wizardry version, so it's really an OSE version.
I know it. I have. Oh my gosh! Look, I got it right here.
Yeah, and that's a really good place to start.
Okay,
it gets pretty deep pretty fast. So that's one thing that's a little different than the Lost City of Baracus. So like once you're below like the 2nd or 3rd level of that dungeon, it gets pretty hairy. But both of those dungeons, I'm calling them dungeons, adventures, because I'm not all about dungeon, right? As much as people think I am. they're wilderness. There's a lot of wilderness. There's a lot of town stuff. There's a lot of you better think about it before you do it stuff. A lot of information gathering and consulting sages and stuff like that, which is always part of anything I write. But both of those are really good starters, and I think I actually, think of either one of those as sort of like the Keep on the Borderlands with 10 times more stuff to
steroids.
Yeah, it's 10 times more stuff to do.
Yeah.
So you've even got the two-headed Etten, the Etten, right, with the helm of opposite alignment on one of his heads and that.
Oh, see, that's cool.
That was a fun one. I got a compliment from Steve Wick at White Wolf about that one. Now at drive-through, he's a guy who owns drive-through. About, oh my God, you put a helm of opposite alignment on one of the Etten heads. That's the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. But those are good places to start. We have probably 50 or 60 kind of intro modules that we've written over the years. I mean, there's 1975, which is a good intro to how I play. There's Grimsgate, which is another one that's like that. Rapanathuk. I got a funny story about Rapanathuk. I'll tell in a minute.
Please.
Rapanathuk, if you're a 5e player, that's not a terrible place to start anymore because of something that happened at Gen Con a few years ago. And I'll tell that story in a second. But really, honestly, if I was starting somebody off and I wasn't familiar with the Lost Lands or I wasn't familiar with the work that we've done, I'd probably hit Stoneheart Valley.
Okay.
Because it was designed originally as a introduction to 3rd edition. And of course I wrote it all in OD&D, and then Clark and some editor at White Wolf made it 3.0, right? But it was really designed as a how to learn how to play module. It's really tough. So you gotta think your way through it. You can't just go brawl on monsters. But
it's like Tomb of Horrors, like almost too, right? You got a lot of stuff that'll kill you pretty easily.
Yeah. Don't fight everything.
Yeah.
Talk to stuff. Talk to monsters. Talk to NPCs. Figure out how to avoid or defeat monsters without fighting them. Is again, any book I wrote is going to be like that though. So the Rapanathuk story. This is funny. So 1982, I think. Right, we all graduated high school. And Rich Oliver, who's one of our layout guys now, moved to Alabama with his parents. Right, his parents were moving to Alabama. He wasn't going to go to college, so he split and he moved away with his parents. And before he left, he Xerox copied on the blue things. You remember they smelled like ammonia?
Yeah, mimeograph.
All my notes.
The mimeograph.
Yeah, the mimeograph. And we didn't have Xeroxes. Well, we had Xeroxes, but they cost like $1 a page back then, so you didn't use them because we were poor high school students. Anyway, so I ran into him at Gen Con in 2010. I hadn't seen the dude since the early 80s, and I had lost like 8 levels of Rapanathuk, which were all the low level, like the Tower of Catalan and all that other stuff. Levels that were sort of the go play in this before you go in the mausoleum or go down the well or whatever you're going to do. He still had them. And so that's why those appear in the 5e version, but not in the SCW Pathfinder version, because I didn't have them. They were gone. The pieces of paper were history. Like
that's such an awful feeling too. And you're like, where is it? And you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, man. And so, but we recovered all of that, and we did supplements, I think, for both Pathfinder and SCW, but they're long out of print. You can probably get them in PDF, but we did the supplements for those in the 2018 Kickstarter. But I recovered all those levels, and then we, of course, rewrote them for modern day, not my handwritten gibberish. And they were finally published. But so Rapanathuk, if you like a dungeon crawl, you can in 5e right now, or if you don't mind PDFs for the sort of for OSR or for Pathfinder, Rapanathuk's not a terrible place to stay.
Yeah, Michael Z just asked, remind Bill to tell you why RA works for 5e at first level.
Because you've got the levels that I lost, which were all rewritten, including like Zelkor's Ferry and the bandit campus and all the wild stuff in the wilderness, the little sub dungeon you can go into. I wish I had one on me. I don't, but I do in the warehouse. But
that's cool.
But it's got levels that were built for levels 1 through 4, that were the original first passes at Rappahannock before I wrote levels 0 through 15.
Right.
Which was the original 3 books that were published back in 2000, 2001. And then, of course, I added in all the stuff I ran over time at conventions and in my home game. I added all those levels in, and pretty much that'll probably get one more update next year, because my home group's been playing in Rappahannock now for about 3 years.
Oh, it is huge.
And so we play every other week. It's like Zeb and Helen Cook and a bunch of folks off the Nimitz, and my daughter is still around. My son was playing for the first 2 years, but then he buggered off and went to Indiana, so he's not playing right now. And about a half dozen other people. I've got a 12-person group at home that plays pretty regular.
Nice.
But they're playing in Rappahannock, so there probably will be one more, which is sort of Underdarky stuff that we're going to publish sometime winter. Zach?
It depends on a lot of things, but I would think that that's definitely something we're going to get to. I think that it might even be sooner than that, because it's called, a lot of it's like a serpent empire, and it connects the really deep parts that we mentioned in the book. If you look on the maps of the book, it says to the Underrealms. And those places are what connects it to Rappahannock, and it's not nastier so much as it's different. It's really creepy and a lot more Lovecraftian in a lot of places. And there's a big area of snake men, because we love snake men.
Yeah.
And so that is called the Rappahannock Underrealms. It's been sitting to be done for a while, but we want to really do it in a way that does it justice. And so this year, maybe next year, you'll see the book. This year, probably see the Kickstarter. It just depends a lot on the climate. We want to release it when people want to actually get it. Yeah. It's a wonderful book.
Yeah.
So there's no guarantee on the time frame, but it's coming.
Yeah, I didn't want to get in the competition with my friends at Troll Lords. By the way, for those of you who don't know, like Kelsey and Steve, both are dear friends of mine. And we were going to release the box set, the one you had up earlier, the rule setting. We were gonna do a Kickstarter for that in March, and then Kelsey pinged me like 2 days before we were going to launch and said, "By the way, here's the media package for my Shadow Dark Kickstarter," and blah blah blah. And I called Zach and said, "There's no way. Don't touch the button." It's like we're way out. We're not even going to go there.
Well, let me tell something happened at GaryCon. You were very kind, invited me to dinner that night, and it was wonderful. Thank you. Stephen Chenault walks in. Looks over and goes, "Hey, Jay," right? Because you don't get the relationship with Steven. And from that, we're both writing those bases. We each have a base now to write off of that, which is really cool. I didn't realize how close you guys are.
Oh yeah, he's my oldest friend in the industry. We met. So actually, I'll tell there's another funny story. There was a convention I used to go to all the time in Detroit, and I haven't been there for years just because I really limit where I go now. I used to go 10, 12 conventions a year, and I don't anymore. But they just had Uncle Billy's Story Hour. They put that on as a seminar, and so they people asked me about working with Gary or working with Bob, or whatever they wanted to talk to me about, and so Steve and I met at Gamma in 2000, and there were 137 companies publishing for 3rd edition D&D
D20,
and so Zach can't answer this question. I don't think that Bob Keller probably should answer it, because he probably knows the answer too. But how many do you think are still around?
I'm going to say 10.
We say 10. Anna, any guesses?
Yeah, I would say a handful. Like it does.
You got Primus's company.
Maybe 15 or
three.
Three. Wow.
So it's Necromancer Games, Troll Lord Games, and Kenzer and Company. Those are the only 3 that were at Gamma that year that are still in existence.
Wow.
Yep.
And so Steve and I have known each other. So the way we met was the Gamma that year. We couldn't get hotel rooms at whatever hotel it was at. I think it was at the MGM. So we stayed at Caesar's Palace, and we're sitting in the bar at Caesar's Palace, which had these dinner-sized plate tables in the bar, because they wanted you to gamble. Neither Steve or I are gamblers. We're not strip bar guys, and we're not gamblers. And so we're in the bar, and he's paying his bills like with the table like in our face like this, because they don't want you to be in the bar. They make it as uncomfortable as possible. And I see him writing a check for like $6,000 and something bucks, right? And at the time, I barely knew the guy. I'd met him 2 days before or something. And I wasn't trying to be a jerk, but he's writing this check like 8 inches from my face, right? And I was like, dude, what kind of house do you live in Little Rock, Arkansas that's got a $6,000 mortgage, right? And he goes, oh, no, no, no. He goes, my mortgage is $400. He goes, that's my wife's malpractice insurance. And we've been tight ever since. And we've done
They're
a
both
lot.
scoundrels.
We've done a lot of joint. We've done a lot of joint stuff together. I think I'm one of the stretch goals. I'm writing a adventure for him for Castle Greyhawk. What do you call it? Castle Zaggy or whatever. I think as soon as they hit $500,000 or whatever, I'm the next stretch goal to write an adventure for that. Which oddly enough, I've already written. I worked on that yesterday.
Yeah, we each have like I'm doing a cairn, you're doing a base.
I'm the wizard. I think I'm the wizard tower.
You're the wizard's tower. I'm doing an abandoned cairn, which is really cool. It's like what 2,000 words. Yeah, it's
well, mine will be more like 5, but he likes my rate because I work for him for free when I work.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's what I said. It was a great dinner meeting. It was just everyone having a fun time. And Steven walks in and starts talking business. So that was really cool.
Well, yeah, because I had somebody bring him dinner the night before. He missed steak night because he had a seminar. So,
okay.
Those of you who don't know, so like Gary Con, I have to have the reason I'm not being a snobby jerk. The reason I have to have a villa is because I can't eat the food in the restaurant. They cook with sunflower oil, and I'm allergic to sunflower seeds. So
and it's damn expensive.
Yeah, so I basically if I eat there, then we might as well just roll me into the emergency room a couple hours later, so I can't eat there. So I could.
And then following that to the bankruptcy attorney because eating at Gary Con is absolutely insane.
Yeah, but anyway, the point is, I'm a chef, and so I'm a pretty good cook, and I cook dinner for 10 to 15 people every night when we're there, and it's dirt cheap because we go buy groceries, and so I made coq au vin and chateaubriand. I made big, huge. Tenderloin filet meal and then I did I do other stuff, but I cook full, really healthy, good meals when I'm there. So Steve couldn't make it over for the Chateaubriand night, and he was sad because he texted me. He goes, "Man, I'm gonna have to eat some shitty hot dog. You guys are having tenderloin steak." So I had a friend of ours run him over a plate.
Oh, that's nice.
Jacked.
But Trollord Games is a hot dog kind of company. So I don't know why you're that worried about it. So I think Chuck Cumbo is still listening, so I wanted to say
that. Chuck's still on too, so he heard it.
Yeah, good. I hope he heard that.
I don't eat processed food. I'm
not.
There
he goes.
Trollord does.
That's why, as old as I am, I still look like this. I'm not sure that's a good thing, but there's that. But anyway, no, it was really nice because it was like I said though. With Steve and Kelsey both launching that same day, it scared the hell out of me, and I was like, I'm not even going to come close to getting in that mess. And they're like $2.3 million or something between them now. It's like it's whack. Yeah. I mean, they're Kelsey Dion's a really interesting case because I met her before she got famous, and she came by to get my autograph once years ago, and she's both extremely talented and extremely nice, and she's the real deal, man. I mean, everybody should support her. Shadow Dark is good. It's she and her wife Jessie have done phenomenal work. I made her a trophy this year that was a torch, and it said Queen of the OSR. Kelsey Dion Shadow Dark 2025. And I made her cry, which was kind of cool. And little did I know, she'd brought me a copy of, and I think I could show everybody this. Hang on, let me go grab something real quick.
Yeah, please. I knew we wouldn't have problems.
Trollord Games, no.
I knew we wouldn't have trouble with the discussion.
Sorry, guys. Oh, no, I do have it here.
Yep.
I think it's here. There it is. So when she first printed Shadow Dark, she made 25 copies of it before she did the Kickstarter and released it and all that other stuff. And so there's one of 20, I think it was 20. There's one of 20 of these. It's a different cover than all the rest of them. And she gave me one of these, and it was she had it for me all signed and everything else. Can people read that, or is it upside down?
No, you got it. To the Frog Father.
Yep.
Thank you for being my friend. Much love. That's awesome.
Wow. Anyway, I can't say enough about that young lady. Well, she's not that well. She's young compared to me, but you know what I mean. She and her, like I said, she and her partner Jessie, wife Jessie, they've taken the world by storm, man. And I can't speak highly enough of both of them. I think they're they're not only like I said, they're not only talented, but they're just really gracious and they're really sweet. And everybody, here's the pitch for their Kickstarter: go buy it. I mean, it was like,
well, yeah, but meaning it's a fantastic game, and it was also released at the right time, and it's the right type of game for the moment in time as well. So there, I think that they scored all three, meaning they had a great game, they released it in a wonderful format, and it's also perfect time when people have played 5e for 10 years. They're looking for something different.
Absolutely.
And it ties into old school in an interesting
and
way.
Best of all, it's compatible with everything I write.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's also cool because it's fully old school compatible, but it's not really old school. It's its own twist to old school, which I think is really cool.
Bill and I had this discussion at dinner, though. Everyone loves it. And it's great for running a 5 series on Twitch and running all these great games with your friends. But running a 5-10 year long campaign setting, it may not be the system for you.
I haven't played it enough, so I don't know. I played it like like 10 times now. I think
you may want to go with another system like old school 1e 2e or.
I've been playing it weekly for 4 months, and I'm only level 4, and everybody's dying. You can keep playing it. But the chances that you'll make it to a high enough level to where you need the high level rules to be made for very low.
It's a charm of the game, but
All right, Jay, let's get into the box set that's coming out then.
Yeah, sure, man. Sure.
You guys saw the stuff earlier. This is the beta draft of this.
Look at this. Look, Bill was kind enough to give me a copy.
And anyway, so obviously my game system plays well to a long-term campaign because I've been using it for 45 years or something, 47 years. What the Necromancer's game is the house rules from. Okay, so let me take one step back. I was an avid tabletop wargamer guy. I played tank games when I was a little kid, and I used to go play with the guys who are all dead now that were probably World War II vets. Some of them might have been World War I vets, honestly. It's been that many years. And one day I was sitting in the hobby store and these dudes are playing a game with one model each, and it sort of freaked me out. And I was probably about 11 or 12. And my dad was a tank guy too. He liked playing tank games. So that's why I learned how to play. And then I'd bike down, actually I hesitate to say it, about 5 miles to the hobby store with my little box of tanks and go play desert games on a sand table. And all the old men thought I was like the cutest little kid ever because I'd go play with them. Anyway, these guys are playing with one model each, and it kind of weirded me out. And so I asked them what they were doing, and it was Rich Oliver was there, and a guy named Buck and another guy named Steve Peterson were there, and Steve was running the game. Steve owned Balboa Games, which those of you who are really old will have heard of the D&D variant called Warlock.
Okay.
And it was Caltech Gamer Society. He went to Caltech. And so he was a college student. The rest of us I was in middle school and the rest of the guys were in high school.
May I ask what year this is?
77.
Okay. All right. Right around. Yeah.
So I guess I was just about to turn 12. It was November of 77. It was Thanksgiving break 77. And
no Holmes Basic yet either. No Holmes
he's running Teagle Manor. Yeah. Right. And so we played in Teagle Manor, and I had a cleric named Bill because I didn't understand the game really. I was the only survivor, and it was because I, had a fear spell, and these bandits attacked us or whatever, and I used the fear spell from the scroll I got from the statue, and I scared them all away, and everybody else was dead, and I ran away. And I distinctly remember that, but that's how I learned how to play in the very, very beginning. And then so Steve was going back to college, of course, but he printed out all of his rules, and the other guys wanted to keep playing D&D, and none of us had ever played before. A couple people played once or twice, so he printed this stuff out on one of those green and white dot matrix printers. You have to remember those again. Anyone under 60 won't remember what these are, but it was green and white striped paper.
I'll say the pajamas. We call it pajamas paper.
Totally. And it had like a tooth feeder that would spit this.
And it always,
and you have to rip them off afterwards, so you got the paper in the middle.
There
you go.
Oh my gosh, it's got a whole
boatload of it. I had like a mile of that.
So anyway, I went to of all places Nordstrom's for my birthday and bought a white box set. Because my parents asked me when my birthday is November 21st.
Wow.
Nordstrom's was selling D&D because it wasn't a thing, right? And then about a month later, the Train store, which at the time was called World of Toys, had dice because they got these new dice in because I was calling everywhere to find dice. You couldn't find dice back then. And they had these, they were called Zokai dice. They cost like $12 a set, which was like 2 weeks allowance, right? It was like a huge deal. And so I bought 2 sets of dice, still have them, by the way. And then I had dice. I mail ordered a Teagle Manor from Judges Guild for $5. Mail ordered, I got the city state thing and whatever else. I signed up for their thing and got my parents for Christmas to buy me a subscription to Judges Guild. And then they made me be the DM because I was the little kid. And God help them because I was killing them left and right back then. But anyway, so that's sort of where all this stuff got started. So the interesting thing about the rules and the way that I've run rules since then is you had all these different bits. You had Arduin, you had Judges Guild, you had TSR, you had Balboa, you had
Throne, all of it.
Yeah, all this stuff. This even
Middle Earth role playing, MERP.
Yeah, this way predates that.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Way predates MERP.
Yeah. And so MERP came out in I want to say 79 or 80.
Okay. 84. Oh no, there was 2 versions, I thought. Okay.
Yeah, the first one. I also had some Tunnels and Troll stuff, the old Steve Jackson stuff.
Steve Jackson, yep, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, so we sort of hybridized these rules. And one of the things that I found interesting immediately was like, I didn't just want to have these guys, it was supposed to be a role-playing game, and that was the way it was explained in the book. And I'm like, well, why don't we just like move on, fight something, move on, fight something? That's dumb. And so I started being really interactive. Believe it or not, and I was a football player, not a drama kid. So why I figured that out, I don't get it, but I did. And so after killing everybody every game for the first 10 games or something, I sort of figured out, there's these cryptic one-liners in the white box that say, oh, if you talk to something or throw it gold pieces or throw food to stupid things, you throw gold pieces at intelligent monsters, you can sway them and they won't attack you. I was like, well, why don't we expand that more? And so my rules have always had a big focus on not necessarily fighting everything, but either talking your way around it or avoiding it or running away from it or bribing it or whatever it was. I loved the Treasure Vaults of Lindarin was one of the ones that was really epic in my mind because it was one of the first books I ever bought for $3.95 or whatever it cost back then. Where it had the ancient red dragon out front that's basically like, so you want to go to the dungeon? You have to talk to it. Because if you attack it, you're screwed. So you don't want to fight it. Okay. So you want to deal with that. And then the other huge influence on the way that my rules are and the way that I play games was Thieves Guild. Does anybody remember Game Lords?
Yeah.
I don't know how many people are online, but put a thumbs up if you remember Game Lords. And that was the one where the entire campaign was based on the thieves, Free City of Haven, that kind of thing. And the whole focus was really on stuff like role playing and, figuring out a way to pickpocket the earring out of the queen's ear while you were dancing with her type thing. And I thought it was really clever. And so I focused my games not necessarily so much on combat as I did on solving puzzles, solving riddles, solving situations, achieving goals. It doesn't matter how you defeat the ancient red dragon as long as you defeat him. And so my players over time have been wonderful with that. Rappanathic, you can make friends with an Otyug, for God's sakes. I mean, it's like you're supposed to. If you don't, you're dumb. And you go to the Goblin City, and you're not supposed to fight the goblins, or you face 5,000 goblins, and you're a grease spot, right? And so so a big part of what I put into my game is parlay and rolls and things like that, and actually doing talking and solving your way around things rather than brute forcing your way around things.
Okay.
The second thing that's a little different was I think I invented skills before TSR did, because the old rule with can I climb that wall, because there were no thieves, right? The old rule about can I climb that wall is roll a d6. I don't know, can you? Does it make sense? And so I've got a mechanic that I've had in there for since the late 70s called lore, for lack of a better term. Lore is actually a new name. I used to call it a D6 roll, but I had to call it something. And different classes are good at different stuff with that. And so can the wizard identify the potion? I don't know, roll a 6-sided dice. Can the cleric discern whether or not the symbol that he sees above the altar is a chaotic or a lawful thing? Roll a 6-sided dice and figure it out. And I did a fairly good job of explaining all that. And then Edwin and Jeff Harkness did a great job of making it so it was intelligible. And so the lore stuff is in there. And the third thing I'm really good at is wilderness and outdoor encounters and stuff like that. And so I've got a pretty significant set of wilderness rules and how that works. And our encounter tables are freaking epic. My daughter and I, my whole family are scientists, right? So my daughter and I sat down with the entire monster manual. That's my monster manual. And went through it and ranked all the monsters according to biome and rarity. And then I figured that I wanted monster encounters or something like that, whether it's humans or monsters or ogres or dragons or whatever, about 50% of the time, and the rest of the time it should be something interesting, like you find an oasis in the middle of the desert or something. And we developed D1000 encounter tables that do that. And I think it's like 42 pages. So they look a lot like the first edition D&D ones in the Dungeon Master's Guide, but they're way more extensive with like 200 or 300 monsters and then stuff like that. So you'll encounter an ancient red dragon, like a 1 in 1,000 chance in the mountains, but a baby red dragon you might encounter a 2 in 1,000 chance, and an ogre you might encounter at a 20 in 1,000 chance or whatever it is. But meanwhile, you might find ancient ruins, or you might get caught in traps somebody set to hunt something with, or you might find a lake in the middle of the mountains, and you roll again to get is there a monster on the lake or whatever. And I think we did a really good job with that. The beautiful thing about that is that my players who play Pathfinder can use about 2/3 of the material, if that tells you the thing. They can't use the player's handbook very much, right?
Right. But they encountered,
white box, right?
Eric Martin would be happy with the 2/3.
The discussion of I call it food, pets, and slaves, but I can't say that because I shouldn't have just said it now, but you know what I mean. But it's when you hire a hireling or a henchman or you want to find an ostrich egg or an owlbear egg. I've detailed that out pretty good based on the size of the city. If you want to buy plate mail in a small village, you probably can't. I've detailed that out pretty well about what different settlements and things like that do, and have available.
Owlbear eggs. That's awesome. Yeah.
Jillian raised an owlbear from a egg to a full-grown owlbear, with her druid character. So, it took her 2 years of real time and probably 100 hours of play, but then she has a pet owlbear.
One thing I want to make sure I interject, so I know everybody on here is a big Greyhawk fan. These rules are, if you put the Greyhawk supplement from the white box, these rules will be very familiar to use with it. Okay. Now the mechanics aren't exactly the same, of course, but if you're familiar with that, you can totally use Bill's rules. But the feel is just like the old Greyhawk kind of feel. And so if you want to run some rules and try some stuff in Greyhawk, and getting everybody to play the old OD&D version, which, although great, is not always that easy to grok or share with newer players. But Bill's rules are like streamlined and can be just done. If you want to have the OD&D experience without the OD&D headache, these rules will allow you to play there in the Greyhawk setting in the way they really played and enjoyed it back in the 70s, but also with a lot of like a modern readability and kind of a sense to where you can bring somebody who's 10 years old, 9 years old, so I've seen him in Bill's games, 8 years old, and they can enjoy it the same way that us grandfathers here could enjoy it. In the way that I think that makes the game linked to its past, yet still able to enjoy in the future. And the thing is, Greyhawk is such a wonderful place that luckily the Wizards of the Coast hasn't ruined yet, and Anna has made it great. And so you can, if you're part of this living world, it's true. If you're part of this living world of the Greyhawk and how it's become even better and better and better and better, Bill's rules are great for it. Because what was the first supplement for OD&D? Greyhawk.
Oh,
right. So,
and it was not even the setting. It was,
Well, it's I got that folio in 1980 and fell in love with it, and I haven't left.
Yeah.
That same here.
Great,
really, you did, Anna? I can't believe that.
No,
it's
kind of funny. It's changing game settings is probably the most difficult decision I will have in my life to do that. All about, I mean, I moved from one end of the world to the other. It's an easy decision, but changing your game setting, oh, that's difficult.
Oh yeah, no, that's hard.
That's a big decision.
But it makes these rules perfect. And after reading through the whole thing and talking with like two of our guys who are really, they're 5e guys, but they're working really hard to make sure the rules are, structured in a way that are easy to read, because they do all full time. Bill has got a million ideas and they're awesome. He runs the game great. Presenting the rules is Jeff Hartness's job, right? And Edwin Nagy's job. And they absolutely have great things to say about it. And those guys are newer school players, especially Edwin.
Yeah, but I also think that is part of the times nowadays, is that before you had standardized rules, everybody played first edition D&D or whatever edition, and then 5e. Now I think we come to the time when instead of having one rule to guide them all, now you should choose from many different rules. Choose the one that fits your game play style perfectly, so to speak, or at least way more closer.
And what you said is absolutely intentional. Part of what I tried to do with this was make it so it was, because I'm not going to try and invent the great. I mean, Kelsey already invented the great new, whale, right? But my rules would be compatible with Shadow Dark. They're compatible with OD&D. They're compatible with OSE. They're compatible with Swords and Wizardry. They're compatible with they're an extra set of rules that involves not combat. Does that make sense?
Okay, so it's not like a full rule system. It's a way to handle a bunch of other stuff.
Box set will be,
okay.
I'm the CEO, so it's going to be a big, sexy box set that includes everything you need to ever play the game. But if you don't use half of the stuff that's in book one, it'll overlap and can be used for particularly for not combat, again, for exploration or for negotiation or for what I'm going to call skill checks, but lore checks, or for almost everything else with any system. And that was intentional because I'm not trying to define how everybody plays. That would be contrary to the way that I've always played, right? Because it was always making house rules.
Let me give you
my house rules are in there.
Let me give you two examples of that stuff going back 50, 40 years. Who here does not still pull out their treasury of archaic names? Right? From Judges Guild. And then also with these two books you have.
Yep.
I use Tattoo Magic in here. Yep. That is there's two known in my Grail campaign, wise women of Obadiah that have the tattoo capability in here, and I got them from these books in 3rd edition. I use my 1st edition Grail rules, and that's something to tweak. So I mean that's what I think Bill's saying is, and this was the prototype, correct? Bill? Yeah. So
that one, that's the beta version of the player's handbook.
Okay, the beta version. How many books are going to be in this box set?
There's going to be 3.
Okay.
There's going to be a player's handbook, which consists of basically you could play the game with the player's handbook, but you don't get all the not crunchy bits, I guess. Then there's a monster manual that's I think I put 220 monsters in it. They're converted to the crunchy bits for the game. And then there's the Dungeon Master's Guide, which is, or it's not going to be called that because I can't call it that, or somebody'd sue me. But it's the Game Master's Guide. We're gonna call it.
Okay.
And it's really focused on how to run a hex crawl, how to run a dungeon crawl, how to run a long-term campaign. How do you run with 20 people in your game, which is something no one ever understands.
And that's the part I wanted to bring up. That's the part I've not seen anywhere else done well, and nobody. And in my whole time, I mean, I've been doing this profession now 11 years, and I've been going to cons that long. Nobody runs a big game like Bill does. Absolutely nobody. And he has in there
Steve,
not as big as yours. I mean, he can, but not. He does a good job. No offense to Lords, but Bill's the best at this. And those rules and his advice is in there.
Okay.
And it's a great thing for like schools. We just had a thank you letter from the school. We sent them a bunch of our material, and they had 12 people in their group. Well, you know who? Those kinds of things are happening, and young people are playing again, and they're looking for stuff just besides 5e. Large group games can be really fun when they're well run, and Bill does a great job, and that's in there as well. And that differentiates this from a lot of other books. And so I think it's great. So
one of the things I always describe the way that the rules work is, rather than give me a 5-page backstory, you write your backstory as you play. And my son came up with that. I didn't come up with that. He's one dad because the difference between you and a lot of other people is our backstories get written while we play the game. And it's because you don't write this huge backstory and then roll dice for the next 6 weeks or whatever. You actually develop your character by you get to know the little girl who's the cobbler's daughter in the town who happened to see the ghosts that were moving around the graveyard at midnight, that you later find out is the dead spirit of a hunter who hated the vampire and was killed by the vampire that they buried. And you find the magic piece that you need to put together the crucible to go destroy the vampire later in a dungeon 5 sessions from now. And it was really, there's a lot of that. And the focus of the game is really on stuff like that. I have a whole section on information gathering, like a 5-page section on how do you consult sages, how do you consult libraries, how do you interact with people in taverns and towns and that kind of thing. And it involves the biggest thing about Zach was talking about with the millions of people playing is everything can be resolved in 2 dice rolls. You'll never roll more than 2 dice to resolve any situation.
That's the nuance of the game that sometimes gets missed, right?
Yeah.
You're playing Free City Rock box set, and then a DM will lose themselves and go, well, they don't know how to get from the inn to the Guild of Wizardry, right? It's just simple. And if you're getting it down and putting it in a concise way that people understand, that's gold.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It'll apply to any system,
Like the opposite from
that's cool.
The kind of, what was it, the grappling rules from first edition.
Oh my gosh.
Like that many. That's the
Yeah.
I have a funny on that one.
Yeah, please.
So Edwin and Jeff hit me with, how are we going to handle grappling rules? And I said, guys, we're not.
Yeah.
Because no one's ever figured it out.
Exactly.
Like,
that's the Achilles heel of every game system. Is like, ask how they've solved the grappling. And
no, it's an unarmed attack that does D3 damage. The end. And that's I was just like, that's it. I was like, we're not going to do that because I could write for 10 pages and it would require 13 dice rolls every round.
Yeah.
We're just not going to do that.
Do you know who's a master of those though? I used them on me. Luke knows them up and down, man. Those grappling rules.
He knows enough martial arts. I mean, Anna, you'll get it. But like, how complicated is? I mean, I don't know Krav Maga. I'm a Aikido guy, but it's complicated is that to write about?
Well, I think one of the problems that usually comes up in rule systems is that when you interact with one of the creatures or the character have no weapons and try to attack something that has weapons, and that's when it becomes difficult, so to speak. You try to treat as something different from the other, and that's tricky. And so what
the way I describe that in the rules is if a frost giant wants to pick you up and throw you, he's going to. If you want to pick up and throw a frost giant, you're not going to be able to. That's about as deep as I go on grappling.
That's the thing. I think a lot of that stuff works a lot easier if it's not codified in rules and a good DM just runs with the situation. I got
3 pages about what do you do if there's no rule for it? How do you adjudicate that?
Yeah.
And the answer is what makes sense. Right. The final answer is what makes sense.
I think one of the reasons we have a lot more rules on this nowadays is as organized play, because in organized play, you're supposed to handle it equally at all tables. Sure. And that means that you need to codify things because otherwise they will be different from this table to that table and so on. So I think that's one of the many reasons that you get rules for a lot of stuff.
There's a very simple Dragon Magazine article back in the day that made it so much easier for grappling, and that's it. That's all I used. Done.
But in organized play, you have to then you can invent it at every table differently. Yeah. So that's one of the.
You have to do it the same way every time. Organized play is that way. They didn't let me run organized play games one time at a convention because they were afraid I'd kill everyone.
Yeah.
And I was told by the person who was in charge of it that you weren't allowed to kill people in organized play. So I was like, that's probably not my gig.
When I heard that the last organized play before this one, you automatically leveled in one adventure, I was like, what the heck is my gosh. But hey, I'm not bashing anyone because I would never bash anyone, right? I'm just kidding.
No,
So,
and if people, that's part of the reason they do that, right?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they may not have time for a long-term campaign. That may just be like something they play 3 times a year, and they want to do that. And dude,
yeah.
if people are rolling dice, then we all
Well,
win, right?
for a
That's it.
convention, it makes total sense. Meaning, if you have like a convention, you're going to run like a 3-session scenario that you do the initial one, you level them up, and between each of them. And
By the
to
way,
me, that can make perfect sense for a convention game.
So Anna, you got to come play in some of my games at the conventions because the way we
Sure.
do it,
Yeah.
Matt Finch and I've done this for 15 years, both of us, and you can still switch between the two because we're still friends, even though we have two different companies again. Is we our games are campaign games, so if you survive
Same
the
here.
game, you come back to the next convention, you can play with the same character.
Yeah.
Same
But
here. Never let that's a number one thing. All my games are convention games.
Yeah.
In my campaign, because you got your friends there, you got some open signups. They play existing characters. Everyone else has Ed Greenwood has his character. Todd Stashwick, they all got characters. And then they play, and then boom, and that's the fun part of
We've
getting
actually
everyone
had
together.
in the last 15 years, we've had 4 characters level out the maybe point when they retire because they played so many times. And actually, Alberta is about to do this too. Her paladin's almost 9th level, and then she's done. Right when you read Paladin Lord, you're done. Jillian's priest, of course, is higher level than everybody, I think. And this is my daughter, but she started playing at conventions when she was 5 with Matt and me and her brother, John. Her character's now retired because she survived through 80 adventures at conventions or something. And so we wouldn't let her play anymore because she was too high a level. Ian McGardy's another one. His thief hit master or whatever it is, guild master level. So did my son John's character at guild master level after 60, 70 games of playing. And then we have the paladin, of course, took longer, but because she's and we haven't seen her for a while. Their family had some bad things happen in their family that they couldn't make it for a while. A couple people died and it was terrible. Younger people died. And but when Alberta's pretty much got 1 game left before her paladin hits 9th level, and then she's done. But it's nice with the convention games like that to do that, where we've had a lot of fun with that because you get recurring people over and over and over again. I think this year I had 17 people in my Friday night game and 15 in my Saturday night game. Might have been reversed.
I thought 9 was a lot.
And probably half of them were repeat players, and then the other half were new players, which was kind of neat because you get new blood in and everything else. But it was they were bringing their characters back from some of them as long as 4 or 5 years ago, and it was really cool.
That's good reminiscing.
Like I said, that's where it's not just that, but it's like I said, it's where my rules really lend themselves to long-term play, and that was even at conventions it worked well with that.
Zach,
keep in mind my home game's got crazy Zeb Cook in it, who goes around with his wizard, and every time he runs out of spells, he fanatically attacks things like a barbarian with his dagger.
Perfect.
So he's a +3 dagger. He's 7th level wizard, right? He's total badass. But for the last almost 3.5 years or whatever, Zeb's been the wizard in the home group.
He always runs out of spells. Then he's just blasting them. First encounter, he's just blasting away. Yeah.
But that's all part of his. The thing is, that's all part of his character.
Yeah.
So like his character is developed as this. He did it once when he was like 3rd level or something, and now he does it every time. So it's like I think he's going for the Tensor's transformation type gig. But
a great spell, but much higher. It's 7th level.
It's inspired.
So. Zach, I want to ask you this. Give me a tidbit or something that you're like, wow, the wow factor that's coming out in this box set.
Well, the counter tables, you already mentioned them. But
right, that sounds awesome.
Incredible. And then I'm working with the guy we're doing the printing. It's a guy I think out of Utah that is our liaison with the printer. And I can't say yet because we're finalizing it, and Bill doesn't know this yet, but he and I are talking tomorrow morning to get that to him. And it's got some pretty special stuff. The card deck that we're hoping to get in there is going to be a lot of fun designed just for the box. It's based on his Deck of Dirty Tricks card deck, which frankly is.
I made
the appearance in it. I didn't want to. My name is in the card deck. I do think it makes for an incredibly fun experience that is like almost nothing else I've seen for sale. And we always run out of them. I think we're all out of them again when we print them.
I've got
and they're wonderful fun, and that's in there. So
I got to use this
Well,
more.
the fact that they're going to be stitch bound hardcovers inside something that's sort of akin to an iPhone box. I make stuff that really
No, it's a
lasts.
really thick and beautiful box. We made sure that we told him that it had to be a very specific thickness, and I had to get one of those measurement meters, the ones that do thickness that get real small. I had to borrow one from our printer to go measure boxes that I own that I wanted to be thicker than, because we couldn't let Goodman do better than us.
Yeah, totally. Well, and the other things I insisted on was the encounter table as a poster. Like, so they're all on one poster because they're huge.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
And so there'll be a poster map of the encounter tables.
How big is that?
Tell me if I'm lying.
We don't know yet. It depends on the size of the map.
Oh my gosh.
The hard part of this, until it's laid out, we can't get a good size.
Right.
There's something called a lay flat. The lay flat is the size you have to make the foldable poster so it fits. And the thing
box,
these are 85 size books, pretty much 6x9. And
well,
so
people like me can read it.
Yeah, and so it's going to be many lay flats, and it may want to be 2 posters, frankly, because of the size. Because one of the problems we had with the Necropolis book we just did is Necropolis has the Ra Hotep map that Alyssa did. And one thing Alyssa does very well is make very detailed maps that are really huge. And the problem was the first map that came back from the publisher as a sample did not fit in the book. I mean, it fit sort of, but it made the book like up and kind of make like a Pac-Man look, right?
Yeah.
So we had to make it smaller. And I felt like I was going to get my ass beat by Alyssa. When I saw her next time, every inch I made it smaller, because we diagonally make it smaller.
You can't. No, they're made to be a certain size. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, and I tell you what, there's nobody I'm more afraid of in our industry than Alyssa.
She'll throw.
And it's not because she's mean; it's because she doesn't need to be crossed.
Well, who would want to cross Alyssa? Absolutely, yeah.
Not me.
So, it's like here's the Tegel Manor map that right. There you go.
Yeah. Well, that thing is
the size of the PSP file is 4 gigabytes on that. That'll impress everybody except for Anna.
Oh my God! Yes.
It impresses me too. It's a fantastic map.
Anna, did you ever see the one that's 28 millimeters?
A PSP that big is not going to. It doesn't surprise you.
I saw they were rolled out. I think it was last year. Yeah, Game Hall rolled out like huge, enormous.
You see the chicken bones on the plates, like I said. It was.
Yeah, and you see all those little nuances on the Gary Con map every year too.
And there's the dead Zach on every version of the Gary.
True. Yeah. If people ask why I don't cross her, because on every one of her maps in the past 4 years, there's a little dead body holding a Pathfinder 1 book that has a red T-shirt, because God damn it, Zach on it that is me. And so I think that's a warning. Like, not everybody gets a good warning of their death, but that is my prophetic death warning from Alyssa Faden. So that's why I'm afraid.
Yeah. Hey, so I want to throw out one other quick pitch.
Go for it, please.
Even though Mr. Keller here is already one of my major patrons, but I do have a patron, Patreon, whatever the hell they call those things. Patreon, please join it. You don't even have to give me any money every month.
All right, so let me.
Here's the reason.
Michael,
the
can you link it? Jen,
about not writing enough. And so now I have to get up in the morning. First of all, I run a game every Wednesday for some of my Patreons, and then some people do give me money. And if you want to, yeehaw. It's not the $300 or $400 a month I make off this thing that matters. The difference is I get my ass out of bed every morning and write. And so I've been literally, because I'm an asshole if I don't, because some people are giving me money, right? And one of the things like Bob Keller, who's on our screen here, asked me to do is he wanted to see all my old notes. So I've been pulling out slowly by slowly. There'll be a really neat one coming out soon. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of stuff I wrote in years gone by. And I'm turning those into something that's intelligible by humans other than myself. And of course, I'm writing it in my own home game system now and everything else. I'm about to turn another pretty big one into Edwin for us to use as a stretch goal or something on the box set. Vampire Adventure. But join my Patreon. It is free. If you want to pledge for higher levels, you get other stuff. But really, it's just the more people I've got, the more people I disappoint if I don't post every day.
Yeah, Michael Zudrek just linked it.
And that's huge. And so I'm not begging for money here. I just want to see people reading what I'm writing and then adding suggestions and giving me advice on what they want to see and that kind of thing. It matters more to me than, like I said, the $400 a month isn't going to make or break me. I think it's about 300 and something now, but I don't really care that much. You do get perks if you give me money, right? Like I'm gonna do a limited book at the end of the year and that kind of thing. But more or less it's a motivator for me. And then you'll know what's going on and you'll see what we're doing. You'll see what I'm doing anyway. There's a lot more than me now with the company, but
Yep. I just joined. There you go.
Same
okay,
here.
man,
Yep.
I've written more in the last 4 months than I've written in the last 5 years, and it's because of the Patreon.
Very cool.
And it's motivational.
And it's a great way to have a newsletter, the free tier, so to speak. That's
Yes.
what I'm using. My free tier is that you send out a newsletter so you can sign up and keep in touch. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because we have that with Frog Gun with 15,000 people or something, but it's more or less the kick Bill in the ass thing. It's more than anything else.
I do want to show a couple things real quick before we
please.
Yeah, please do.
Well, first of all, that's the Tome of Essential Horrors.
Yeah,
This is it's hard to see, but it's all cloth. It's got like a cloth-like feel. If you remember the old Time in Life Enchanted World books, it's very much like that. And it's a beautiful book. The insides are there. You can see they all have this very similar color scheme and go. It's really wonderful book. Got the little hole in the front.
Cool.
That's a great book that will be out soon in this format. I think you can get it PDF now already. Michael did a wonderful job getting those up. One of the other things is this is the Rappanathic Mouth of Doom, but if you look at the bottom, it's DCC. I know it's backwards, I think, on the screen, but it's a DCC RPG one. We have 5 of them we did in DCC. So a few of them are already up. We did it for the reprint Kickstarter we just did. We may be doing a Indiegogo for them to get them out there so people can see them. We're real proud of them. Emanuele, I can't remember his last name because I can't think of Italian. He's from Italy, has a company, and
Italy is a company in Tokyo, so figure that one out. But yeah,
he's in Tokyo. He's Italian, and they just did a wonderful job. So the first Rappanathic level we did on that one, DCC. The final one we did a Kickstarter not long ago, but these are the it's a zine we did. We did 2 of them. We have 2 more in the pipe that are already done. That's going to get them out to go. But it's a wonderful zine book that's been done. They have an adventure as well as a zine. They come in packs of 2. Skeeter Green, I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he's crazy. He worked on these with Jeff Hartness and Edwin Nagy very, very hard, and so did Michael Gross. They had meetings many times. We're real proud of how they came out. We're hoping to do more of them. But if you like these kinds of things, they'll be very soon on Drive Through RPG. But I want to make sure that some of our newer stuff have been shown. And I think those are also, we did this one in DCC as well. One of our Christmas ones, the 12 Days of Orcus. So that's available in all of them. So we're real proud of the stuff that's been coming out lately. So
where does one go to get the announcement that its Kickstarter is ready to roll? Is that up yet?
Our newsletter?
The link, coming soon link for the Kickstarter.
Well, for Bill's Kickstarter, I think that
Jen have one of my business cards, which I don't know how to give you right now. Zach, can you post it?
Jen or Michael can do it now.
Michael just did it. Yeah. There you go, Michael. Thank you.
Thank
you,
I
already did it, but I just want to make sure. Yeah, you click on that. You click notify me on launch. There you go. There you go. Done. Very cool. Beautiful.
That will be pretty soon coming up, and it's going to be really good.
Looks great.
And the best thing is I'm done writing rules for a long write adventures. And rules are so hard to write.
Yeah.
They're hard to write. And
everybody nitpicks them. The problem with writing them is that you never.
Quite honestly, I was knocking out 2,000 words a day on rules.
And when you change one thing in one end, you have to go back and do all the other stuff and change it, and it becomes it's a nightmare.
Well, because the thing is, the boys were giving me hell about not having stretch goals. So, like, I wrote a Necromancer class as a stretch goal today. It hasn't been edited or laid out or anything else, but it is in. I turned it in.
So I wasn't in on the beginning. So when are your new rules coming out, or are you?
We're gonna launch the Kickstarter in about 2 or 3 weeks, right, Zach?
Okay.
I think sooner than that, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Kelsey and Steve will both give me lots of press once they're done. So I'm not doing anything. I mean, I'm not gonna compete. I'm not gonna compete with her. So it'll, though, to be perfectly honest, it's not really competing, but you know what I mean? I mean, because you could buy my book and still play Shadow Dark.
Yeah, I think D's got 9 or 10 days left on it, I think.
So I'm going to wait a couple
of weeks. That seems about right for our time frame.
Yeah.
And, and like I said, get your Shadow Dark. It's great stuff. I there's nothing.
I love the way there's focused on player agency. I love that. That is a great goal to have with your rule set. Yep.
Well, I guess that's Anna. What I was saying earlier about write your own backstory is that's really the whole point of playing a role playing game, right?
Yep.
It has to be, if you don't have player agency, you're missing something.
Yep.
And not to take a shot at any other game system or anything else, but I think a lot of the more modern systems have sort of missed that, and I think they're scripted.
Yep.
And I will actually use the H word, which is hate. I hate railroady games and railroady game systems. I don't want to see like you fight this, then you move to here because I'm going to make you go there, and then you fight this and you move there, and you know.
Good.
I really that's not a role playing game. That's a video game.
Yeah.
And I'm a big guy on table interaction and using this as a relationship thing with people, I guess, more than anything else. If you want to, I don't know exactly that's the right word, but it's exercise your brain, so anyway, so the final pitch on my thing, and then we can talk about whatever we want.
It's all good, man. Go for it. We're good.
Yeah.
If you like a role-playing game with an ROLE,
thanks, Patrick.
Then this thing's for you, and it will convert to anything you want it to, system-wise, with about 75% of it. It's focused really on thinking. I call it a thinking player's rule system. And so if you got people who, like one of my best friends, CEO of Corsair, right? Like Corsair Computers. I'm not really sure that's the name of it, but you know what I mean? Likes to roll dice and kill shit because during his day life, he has to think all the time. He'll buy the book. I'm sure he will, and God love you, Michael. But he would rather smash something with an axe than he would think about something or interact with the villagers or interact with about that he could make friends with. The punchline is at the last convention, I designed an adventure just for him, and then the first round he gets charmed, and he gets uncharmed, and then he gets webbed, and it was like, oh god. But anyway, so it's a thinking person's game system. It's there's a lot of role playing involved with again not with two L's, and I think that anybody who's an old school gamer, or even a 5e player will see value in the material that's there. Heck, I even think Pathfinder players will see value in the material that's there, but I can't play Pathfinder enough to guarantee that. Zach, anything you want to say?
Please, Zach. Yeah.
I support the new Kickstarter. Is going to be really cool. We have other stuff coming down the pipe. We have lots of great people who work for us to try to make stuff that people really enjoy. And if you haven't tried our stuff, give it a shot. Drive through RPG. We have some free downloads. Michael Gross takes care of our drive-through side, and there's lots of stuff up there for you to see. And I know that he and his son worked real hard to make sure our publisher page is now actually usable. So you can check that out. That's a great way to check out some of our stuff for free or for really inexpensive. Our books are made super premium quality when we do them through our regular printers. It's really important to Bill to make sure that it's a book that'll be on your shelf forever. If we have a copy of a book that you bought 10 years ago and it fell apart, if we have one in stock, we'll replace the book as long as you show us a picture of where it broke. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we care about. One of the great things about RPGs is that people can write their own stuff and do their own thing for it. We try to make things for those kind of people.
Yeah, we've had 14 books break in the last 15 years.
Yeah, it's very rare we have to do that, but it tells you about our quality.
Yeah.
There's a huge sale, by the way, in drive-through of all their content. I just linked it, okay, as well. I've been looking at it the whole time. All right, we got some audience questions. Is that okay?
Go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Me first on a great question here. Is the old downloadable content for these great adventures still available? And if not, can it be?
Oh, Jesus, I have no idea.
Yes, it sort of is. You can contact us. We can get some of it.
Okay.
One of the problems is that the old Necromancer boards that had them were with the URL and the ownership of the domain long since gone. But we have most of them that we can get to you. If you have a copy of it, show us your copy or receipt.
All right. So if I'm missing something, I'll reach out to Michael and go from there.
That's exactly who to talk to.
All right.
100%.
We have at least I probably have a scannable copy in hardcover, but God damn it, it'd be hard to find. But if someone really, really needs it, like that's the one thing they're missing, I'll go to my warehouse.
It like doubles and triples the usefulness of every publication. You know, it's just
especially for Rainbow Mage, because part of the deal with that was White Wolf gave us page limits.
Oh man, that's
and we all overwrote, and so then we cut everything out, but we didn't want to throw it away, so we just give it away.
I have prepped. I got to bring this up. So this is one thing I forgot. I've prepped this adventure about 10 years ago, waiting for the right time to run it because the second edition Elementalist came out right back in the day in the Tome of Magic, and
sure.
I would always I created what was
That's
called
the Howling Mountains or something, right? What's it called? The three
Yes,
bits.
it is. It's called. I believe it's Howling Mountains. Yes.
Yeah.
It's such a great
It's
adventure.
long.
I haven't figured out a time to run it.
2 pages we had to cut out of that thing.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, I got all the downloadable content for this one though. I know it's like this thick.
It's got a quaddle and a vampire. It's like neat as hell, actually.
Yeah, it's really good. But my quasi elementalist, yeah, my one's based on lightning, radiance, and magnetism. Elementalist fits right into the whole storyline of this Rainbow Mage. So I just wanted to say that this is one I have not run yet, but I will get to it.
Well, it's the only time other than Lost Hidden Shrine of Toma-chan. I would say Lost Toma-chan because I actually have one of the old ones, but Lost Toma-chan that I've ever seen a quaddle in a book.
Really?
Well, in the bonus material, we cut it out. We had to. It wouldn't fit. So if you get the whatever, it's not called the Howling Mountains. It's called the something mountains, but the bonus material for Rainbow Mage had a quaddle encounter and then 2 vampires, I believe.
Yeah, no, it's I got it downstairs and I got it all. I always just insert them into it, and it's super thick now, triple in thickness. So really a cool adventure. All right,
like no one uses Lacratas except for me either. So
no, I use them. I love the crying woman. The help me. Oh my God, yeah. Lacratas. Broken Mountain, yeah. Dragons, yeah, all those.
Skeeter might have a PDF of it someplace, Zach. I don't know.
But we have the PDFs, but we don't have anywhere you can get them because
the Broken Mountain supplement.
We're weird with the licensing rights and stuff with drive-through, but we can get them to people if they contact us.
Yeah, if they send an email to help or support at froggames.com. Is that it?
It's help at froggames.
Help. Okay. It won't be me. It's one of the people who's smarter than I am.
Well,
that'd be Laramie or Jen.
Definitely another excellent adventure. All right, so Dale asked a question way back. Who wrote the Demi-Lich encounter in Rapanathuk?
Me.
There you go, Dale.
It was totally straight up me. Yeah,
because he says that was campaign defining for them.
Oh, I believe it. That's okay, so you go down to like the ninth level of the dungeon or whatever, get in this fast moving, scary, dark river. Find a secret door with a symbol of death on it. Open it up. What else are you going to find besides a Death Knight and a Demi-Lich? I mean, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Trying to hide.
And both
the
other
only way to get the Demi-Lich out is you find a Leomund's chest. You then have to dispel the Leomund's chest, and then the Demi-Lich comes out and eats you. So it was like, believe it or not, that actually happened in an actual campaign game. A guy named Spiegel the Mage. You guys have seen his stuff before. Activated that Demi-Lich and he got eaten by it, and then Flail the Great, which was the highest level character in my campaign game ever, was able to resurrect him. Flail, by the way, had a 17 wisdom and nothing else above an 8. True story.
Sounds like Certain was like that too, if I recall. Yeah. Wow.
But that was actually an encounter from the college days.
Isn't that great when you can go back? We do this all the time. We go back and we just tell stories about 30, 40
that was
years
an actual a thing that happened. So.
Yeah, in the campaign setting. Someone asked about, is there going to be a follow-up on the God series?
Yes. We have the other 2 already written.
Okay.
Honestly, we've been sort of watching the WotC disaster with 5.5 or whatever the hell they're calling it. We've sort of been holding back on a lot of publishing because of that. So the book is already, Anthony Pryor wrote it all. The art costs for it, as you can imagine, will be expensive. And so we're sort of waiting for a little bit of a market rebound before we do that, but we will be doing it. It's possible we're going to be doing it with less art.
Okay.
Just because,
cost. Yeah.
I mean, just because, and I don't like fucking my artists over and not paying enough money. So I'm not going to cheap out on the art or go AI or any bullshit like that.
Yeah, AI's a death knell.
Yeah, I don't do that. So I believe in art for art. And so, but the thing is, I also can't afford 300 pieces of art or something for a couple of books.
Yeah, you can't make it a deities book because 1, they're not monsters, but 2, the art and costs involved are just insane. Casey Christopherson, who did the art direction of the last one, did a really great job on the book, but we had to cut it down in size because we could not have done 1 book with all that art cost. So.
Yeah, we would have lost $10, and I'm being sarcastic about the number we would have lost.
Yeah, well,
So, but I also won't underpay my artists, and
no,
I just.
it is about business.
But we honestly, you guys may see a trend of decreasing art for the people who don't use AI, because you got to pay your artists
Yep.
a fair amount, right? And I'm not going to do that to them. I'm not going to ask them to make 20 pieces of art for what I used to pay them to do 10, right? So, but we may have to do less art just because we can't afford to do the books if we don't.
I can understand that. We were, looking into art costs on some things, and it's like, oh my gosh, I know Carlos Lysing does his books, and he knows how, he really picks and chooses how much art he puts into them. Lots and lots of type, which is good, because that's what people are looking for his games.
And we may reuse some because our company owns, I don't know what, 15,000 pieces of art or something. We may try and reuse some stuff.
Okay.
We're certainly going to keep our artists as busy as we can afford to keep them.
Yep.
But
right now it's
a lot of art.
And do you have any other questions while I ask the audience one more time?
Well,
keep asking.
I was just to say it's cool to see that you give settings and adventure that a lot of love, because we've had the age of mechanics, or the decade of mechanics. So it's cool to see that you kind of kept the idea of a game setting alive for the past decade. But on the other hand, to have a rule set coming out is sign of the times now, that you have the specialized rule set, so you can pick and choose the one you want.
40 pages of rules and all the rest of it setting. I mean,
yeah, that's good.
I mean, I'm a setting guy, right? You should email at some point, and I'll just send you whatever you want.
No, but that's interesting, because we've seen that the past 10 years, especially from Wizards of the Coast, they've been so focused on mechanics and all of that. So settings and all the wonderful fluff has been on the sidelines for well over a decade. So it's cool that we have
about that. I can't share.
Exactly. I mean, that's so cool that we have third-party publishers like FrogGod filling in the scene and keeping true to setting as a concept, so to speak, that you actually play in a place that feels real and have all the cool stories and stuff attached to it.
So, Zach, Michael Zudrak, what's Zach's favorite demi-human race, and why is it gnomes?
Oh,
because gnomes are awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. No, seriously. I've always liked it when it won D&D, and then when I played the Worlds of Warcraft, everybody hated gnomes, so I feel obligated to do so.
Gnome engineers.
And then after that, when I wrote Whisper and Venom, I needed like an adversary, not an enemy, but an adversary. And the adversary I wrote was based on a character that a friend of mine played. That was he was a tiny little Tom Tellis. If anybody knows who Tom Tellis is, you know what I mean. And he was a tiny little Tom Tellis guy who was just kind of a jerk to everybody. But we used him, and the reason I named the company Lesser Gnome is because that's how he would refer to my gnome character as a lesser gnome. So I tend to play gnomes when I get an opportunity, but right now I'm in Shadowdark. I'm playing a dwarf.
So I have a funny thing about the gnome thing with Zach that I have to tell everybody. So when Matt Finch was one of the partners in the company for years, and again, I love Matt. Go buy his stuff. He does some of the best OSR work in the world. But he was one of the main partners in the company before he started his own deal again and everything else. And so I told Matt that I had to hire a COO because I couldn't do the CEO and the CFO and the COO job all at once. And he's like, fine. And so I mentioned there were a couple of people that came up in conversation. Zach was one of the ones at the top of the list. He was who we decided we were going to talk to first. And he goes, I don't know how many of you know, but Swords and Wizardry does not have gnomes. They were deleted from Swords and Wizardry because Matt fucking hates gnomes. Anyway, so I
got his faults.
And I'm like, we're gonna throw a fishing line out to Zach and see if he's our guy. And he goes, you would pick the gnome guy, right? Because he was like, I hate gnomes. And of course, we completely both agreed that Zach was going to be the guy. But so I made Lesser Gnome be Matt's boss for a while, which was pretty funny.
Hey.
So Zach, have you played the gnome game at Gen Con? Where they have you can play a gnome?
I've actually never been to Gen Con.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, they have a game where you play usually on the upper floor. There's like a huge board game spread out over hundreds of square feet, and you get one of these hats, and you have a huge die, and you play a garden. You play a gnome, and you go around. And
I'm
you
confident
get
that
out.
that picture would show up everywhere of me, so I can't do that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
abuse.
So anyone who doesn't like gnomes, I can recommend that game. So, but you will get kicked out. So, yeah.
Trust me, I got abused from my friends driving that cart around it, that scooter around at GaryCon. So.
Oh, you did such a good job coupling all the chairs and the tables and all that. So, yeah.
It was wonderful.
So, Jay, who else we got in the audience?
We got one more question in the audience. One thing about gnomes. So, Arthur Kane allowed an illusionist assassin back in the crossover days when it came out, and I made the most badass illusionist assassin gnome because non-detection, mislead. You couldn't detect them.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say that'd be like
it was
just name your character Arya Stark.
Yeah. It was like 15 years of them dealing with that gnome. As the antithesis of the campaign. All right, so
you're a hero then, like all gnomes.
Anti-hero, absolutely. A legendary character going way back. So Troy asks, Cannonball, do you let other people create adventures for your games and your systems?
Yes.
Yes.
There you go. Cool.
Straight up. And if they need guidance on rules, email me.
And if they're at a point where they're actually going to go and they need some black and white art, we have art we can sometimes share with them if it's something very specific. Yeah. So we like to see it happen. We want to encourage people to do so because more games is better for everybody.
And contacting me is really tough. It's necromancergames@yahoo.com. I'll get back to you because if 500 of you email me, it'll take me a while. If one or two of you do, it'll be quick.
Yeah, you should run an advice column like weekly or so on the internet.
Well, do my Patreon. Yeah. I mean, that's
exactly.
Patreon's best place to start.
The old sage advice in Necromancer games or Frog God games format, so to speak.
My assumption is you'd want a lot of new stuff written for your new system.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I wrote 4 adventures in the last month. I mean, there's going to be a lot of stuff out there. What'll get published, what'll get put on the Patreon, what Edwin and the boys will let me do is sort of, I don't make any of the production decisions, right? Because they don't let me do that anymore. Because I always just say, yes, let's do that.
You're the creative aspect.
Yeah, I'm the creative. So I have to pay the bills. So I'm the creative and I pay the bills. And I sign contracts when Zach doesn't sign them. But I'm not allowed to tell people yes to business ventures. That being said, I'm allowed to advice and help people.
Don't believe this stuff. He does it anyway, and then he tells me he's sorry.
There you go. That's the way to do it. Ask for forgiveness. Curtis says, hope to see you, Bill, and your crew again at GaryCon 2026, and I hope your DM Tower Gygax again next year.
Yeah, you bet. I'm thinking about doing it as dinner and a show, honestly. Because I end up feeding half my players anyway. So Anna, you really should. Jay already did, but you really should show up for some dinners next year.
Sure, I'd love to.
I'm a pretty good cook. I mean, I think ask people, but I'm a pretty good cook. Were you there for Cook event, or were you there for You're there for Cook event? Okay. So my specialty is French, but I do other stuff too. So, but anyway, I love to cook, and my boy's usually there. So, which is also he started training with Cordon Bleu books when he was about 8.
That's awesome.
But yeah. Nothing else in the audience, really. Is that all?
Yeah. Well, look at that. We're right at 2 hours. Boom. Yeah. It works out well. It's like running a game at a con. Oh my God, I got done on time.
20 minutes. I got people coming over for dinner, and I got the
perfect timing.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do the giveaways now. $25 gift certificates to Frog God Games. There, I caught myself. There you go. And Michael's always like, anytime I've asked Michael for something, he's always said yes. So thank you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's been great.
If they're gift certificates, we can probably up that too.
Oh, really?
Michael, send him one for 100, and then have him randomized with some sort of online dice roll who gets it.
Oh well, there's a random sign up here. Absolutely random.
Okay, so Michael, send him a gift certificate for $100.
Woo! Look at that. So first winner's going to get 100.
Do 3 of them.
We got 100, 2 25s. First one will be 100. All righty. Wow. Thank you so very much for your generosity there.
You bet.
All right, we'll give people a minute or so to get in on that $100 one. Will be the first one I draw. You have to be on. You have to be claiming in chat. Okay, and then we'll do two 225s. I got on the 25s. I'll get out immediately. Right? Excuse me.
You dice roll these?
No, the system does it. It's on Streamlabs set up. I got it all set up. They're all going in. It's all good.
When it works.
It always works, Anna. It always works.
She just cursed you.
Yes, well, it happens all the time.
I jinxed it.
Trust me, I've been streaming almost 7 years now. And it's just something always bad always will happen. Someone will kick a cord out, fall over the table. It happens. No matter what. It happens. It's just.
And by the way, we're happy to be on again whenever.
Of course, like I will, Bill. I want to have you on as I had Ed on this last time I did it. DM's roundtable discussion.
Yeah.
I think that would be brilliant with you, and we'll have some people who have been maybe 3 to 5 years doing it, and then throwing you in on that. Oh my God, that would be a wonderful discussion.
I was giving Alex hell about that for Gamehole because he didn't have any OSR panels, and he's like, "Well, organize one." I was like, "How about me, Kelsey, Steve, and Zeb?"
That'd be awesome.
And he was like, and he was like, "You could do that?" I was like, "Sure." They're my friends. It's easy. So 3 phone calls later, we have a panel at Gamehole Con. I still have to write what it's about. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to call it. We might just call it OSR Gaming or something.
That's it.
Except for Kelsey, they're all scoundrels.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Zeb's just a berserker wizard. That's all it is. But
I wish I was going, but there's no way with my double hips coming. I just don't know when I'm going to have the second one done. First one done this Thursday, so wish me luck there. All right, that's good enough here. I'm going to, last call, exclamation drawing, I'm going to give this away. Then we'll give away the 225s as well, and then we're going to rate in the Darling Creep Show tonight, as we normally do on Sundays, and she'll be rating the marquee from there. All right, going to close this out. Let's see who wins. Just big 100. We'll make sure that they're on.
Much, guys.
Of course. We'll keep monitoring it.
Always fun, and I'll pretty much do this anytime. Just let me know.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Not the 2 weekends in April I told you about because I got.
So for me, after this Thursday, I don't know when I'm going to stream after this Thursday. We're going to have Legends of Lore Wednesday night. Don't have the topic yet. I don't know when I'm going to stream again after that with the first hip replacement. So it just.
Hip's nothing. My dad did both, and he was up and walking the same day.
Yeah, I just gotta, I'm gonna have a stand up and all, but people are gonna.
I've had shoulders done. Those are
freaking crazy. You're like, streaming 2 days afterwards. People are gonna yell at me, so I may take a week off from it. So, all right, here we go. Here comes the first winner. 2000 Caesar, a regular to our channel.
Congratulations!
Thank you. Let's make sure Caesar is on. I want to see he's on to claim there. Let me just make sure he's on still. Has he said anything in chat? He's on. I see him in the chat log.
Yep, he's on.
All right, Caesar Gratz. Next winner, $25. The 25s I'll give you I'll get them right out to you tonight. I have them, comma. I know you're on, and Dragger here, Gratz.
Oh, awesome!
So one's going overseas. Dragger here's overseas. So
he's in Canada, so it's not. that
far. I thought he was. Oh, really?
No, he's in Canada.
That's overseas now.
In Canada, we're not shipping it unless he pays the shipping.
So
he can throw it across the border if he wants to.
Yeah. I'll get PDFs. That's probably what he'll do. So
PDFs would be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So thank you all, Zach, and your Patreon's hanging out. Thank you, Bill, especially. What a wonderful.
Thank you, everybody.
And Anna.
Thank you very much.
So just note, next stream is Wednesday night. Unknown topic on Legends and Lore.
Yeah, we have to.
Then I'll be
come
off
up
for
with
a
something.
bit.
Yep.
So thank you all for all the support at GaryCon. It was wonderful. I just put up my top 16 pictures on my site and the GaryCon link all over the place that I thought, me personally, from the con. So take a look at that. And if you watch the Film Girls video that she did, which is 9 minutes long, it's on GaryCon and a lot of other places too. It's really awesome. And we'll see you all soon. I mean, now I normally hit a wrong button. I don't know how many wrong buttons I've hit tonight, but here, we'll hit this. Right, Anna? Boom. All right. Setting the rate up to Darling. Let's see if we can go in with like 90. It'll be awesome. We're peaking over 100 there, so thank you very much, audience. Setting the rate up. All the fun things I can do.
Hey, thanks again, you guys.
Of course. I'm glad perfect timing too.
So
Good to see you, Bill.
I'll see if you get to do a DM roundtable thing. I'll drag Cook in and.
Oh yeah.
I'll get a couple other people I can-
That'd be awesome, man. Having Zeb on again, that would be great. Yeah, that'd be. I had him on talking about Vecna Lives about 3 years ago. It was. I haven't had him on since. That'd be awesome.
We play D&D together every 2 weeks, so it's like
nice.
Great.
Yeah, next one will probably be in May. So we'll talk. That may be a wonderful time to do it. That'd be awesome.
you should do some sort of podcast from North Texas. When we're in North.
I have never been to North Texas.
Oh,
Me neither, but yeah.
Another issue with this year is that
You've never been to NTRPG?
no.
Oh, I need to go, but this year
my
I'm
God,
busy
yeah.
with another con at that time. So yeah.
Just waiting for the raid to
So,
come.
but next year, yep.
There is no better convention than North Texas.
Yeah, I need to get to
We've got
that.
Satan's Midnight Auction.
midnight off.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you Wednesday.
Good night, you guys.
There you go.
I gotta go cook.
Cook, man. Have a good one.